1986 American League Championship Series. From Anaheim Stadium, the Boston Red Sox and the California Angels, and the matchup for Game 4, Roger Clemens against Don Sutton. A wild one last night, highlighted by this bizarre fourth-inning play, which resulted in the ejection of Gene Mauch. And one of the key blows, this two-run homer by Gary Pettis as the Angels beat the Red Sox and Oil Can Boyd 5-3. Anaheim Stadium from the air, not Chamber of Commerce weather. It's been cloudy all day and cloudy in the early evening, but quite comfortable. Temperature approaching 70. Anaheim Stadium filling to capacity once again for game number 4. I'm Al Michaels, and the Angels are 2 victories away from the World Series. The Red Sox are 3. Tonight is game number 4. Good pitching matchup coming your way with Clemens taking on Sutton. And an interesting note to begin things, we mentioned last night there was some question whether Wally Joyner would play last night. He thought he'd been bitten by an insect, he'd been running a fever, but did play. However, when he came to the ballpark today, he had a lower leg infection. He has been taken to the hospital. So Wally Joyner is in the hospital tonight. George Hendrick will be at first base for the California Angels. And for the update on Joyner's condition, I talked a little while ago with Mike Fort, the Angels GM. Mike, can you tell us about the condition of Wally Joyner?
Well, in a word, Al, he's resting comfortably. We believe that he has a bacterial infection in his leg, which has produced some swelling, and it's very sensitive. They're doing some cultures to try to pinpoint the exact nature of the infection. Cause, we don't know, but it looks like he will be hospitalized to receive antibiotics for perhaps a 24-hour period.
What about his status for tomorrow's game?
Still in doubt at this point. I would say more realistically, and having to view it negatively, as we believe right now, the way our luck is running, given this, he'll probably be ready to play on the off day.
Well, the off day would be Monday. If a 6th game is necessary, it would be Tuesday night in Boston. Game 7, if necessary, would be Wednesday night in Boston. But that's the future. Today's the present. Let's talk about the past, and let's go back to last night. Great ball game. The Angels won it by a score of 5-3, and what everybody will remember about Game 3 was the controversial play that took place in the bottom of the 4th inning. To set the scene, Boston was ahead 1-0. The Angels had runners at first and second. Joyner, interestingly, was the runner at second with 2 down. And with Doug DeCinces at the plate, Oil Can Boyd on the mound. 2 on, 2 out, and DeCinces hits the weird-looking little roller that starts foul, winds up fair, hitting the bag. And Buckner throws to Gedman. Initially, the plate umpire, Terry Cooney, said safe. Then Rich Garcia said the tag was made. The out call was eventually made, and I talked to both umpires earlier. Terry, how did you see the play as it developed?
Well, Al, when the ball was hit, when DeCinces hit the ball hit fair, and then it went foul, and it started rolling back fair again. And then as it got towards the bag, it looked like it was going to go foul again. So it's my responsibility from home plate up to the first base bag, and I followed the ball up the line, and then when it hit the bag, I still thought they were going to make a play on the ball, and as it happened, I was too far up the line to get back to home plate in time to get in position to really make the call. And when he swiped at Joyner, I thought that he missed the tag. That's why I called him safe, because I just didn't think that he got him. And then when it appeared, that the whole bench unloaded on me, being that I was out of position, I felt that I should ask for help from Richie Garcia, because he was on the third base line and could possibly see whether he was tagged or not. And it was the magnitude of the game just preempted me to do that.
In other words, you did that on your own then, not through a request by McNamara?
Oh, no, I did that on my own.
All right, let me turn now to Rich Garcia, and from your angle, how did you see the play, Rich?
Well, truthfully, I don't know if the guy was out or safe, to be honest with you. The only question that Terry asked me was there a tag? And there was definitely a tag. We've looked at the replay. I've seen the replay from both sides. I know when Gedman tagged him. I know he tagged him. I know you can't see it on the replay because it's blocked. And the angle that they show, you can't see it. I know he was tagged. Whether Joyner was on the plate or not, I don't know. And that was my answer to Terry. I did not change the call. I helped on the call. Terry decided that If there was a tag made, it must have been made before the runner hit the plate. That's why the decision to change his call and call the guy out.
All right, so that's the postscript on last night's game. Meanwhile, we'll take a close-up look at Roger Clemens when we come back.
This ABC Sports exclusive is brought to you by Speed Stick Deodorant. The wide stick gives you the edge. Speed Stick Deodorant by Menon. And by Valvoline Motor Oil, where motor oil is not just motor oil.
We'll always be down to earth, kind of, I guess. We have time for it. We try and have time for everyone. And she's always real considerate like I am. But when it starts interfering with our work, right now she's it's getting close to that baby time. And I'm starting to learn from fatherhood that mothers do get grumpy at that time. So, but for myself, I don't mind sharing it with everyone. I like sharing it and giving everybody a little bit of time. But when it starts interfering with my work habits or my work in between starts, which is, I have 4 days in between, and I got to be ready on that 5th day every time, it bothers me, and I won't let people affect me and or the media affect me.
What a year it's been for New England sports fans, with the Patriots going to the Super Bowl, the Celtics winning the NBA championship, and now the Red Sox in the playoffs. Roger Clemens, now a major celebrity in Boston.
They're putting me up against Larry Bird, and I guess last time I heard from Larry Bird, he said he was glad I was making a big name for myself. Now he can go to the malls and not get hounded. So these fans are tough, but yet they're fair, and they're very knowledgeable of the game. I try and answer all the mail that I get. Is coming in trash can loads right now, and it'll take a while to answer it, but we try and get back with everybody because I've always had the feeling that I've tried to get some major league ball players, and I've faced a few of them. I've tried to get their autographs, and they've told me no, and I come back to haunt them. And I don't want some big home run hitter to come back and haunt me later on in my career when I'm out there throwing it up to the plate.
A storybook season for Roger Clemens. Late April, this was strikeout number 19 in a game against the Mariners to tie a major league record, and then number 20 to put his name in the record books all alone, on his way to a 24-4 mark and a most valuable player award in the All-Star game.
I'm not going to dwell on this season because when this season's over, what you did is going to be history, and I'm going to have to set forth more goals. But like I said, I've always said that when I leave the game, I want to leave a lot of memories behind of what Roger Clemens did. I don't want to play this game for hopefully 10 or 11 years and then end up telling my kid I just played the game. I want to only be able to go to Cooperstown and see some of it. And there's a little bit of me there now, but I want to leave some big footprints behind.
I'm joined now by Jim Palmer. Jim, outside of one aberrational instance the week of the All-Star game, he has never pitched with 3 days rest. What will that mean?
Never had to, and of course tonight he does. I really don't know, Al. That's the big question tonight, and I think if there's anybody, considering the ability level that Roger has, he could do it. 143 pitches in the first game, obviously a detriment to coming back so soon, but I think he learned something from the first game. He learned how to pitch. He tried to throw the first couple of innings, maybe 66 pitches, only 2 breaking balls, mixed up his pitches the last 5 innings. So I think he has had some play experience. I think it's going to help him. And so he doesn't throw 95. What's the matter with a 92-mile fastball?
We'll find out very shortly as we get set for Game 4 here. Meanwhile, we'll take a look at the Mets and the Astros at Shea today when we come back.
I'm Dick Clark. Anyone you don't...
Starter Ron Darling had been quoted as saying that Astros second baseman Bill Doran was the Houston hitter he feared most. And in the second inning, to Darling's chagrin, Doran proved him right. After Houston had gotten 2 in the top of the first, this 2-run homer by Doran made it 4-0 Houston in the second. And it stayed that way into the bottom of the 6th when the Mets came back. First, Craig Reynolds misplayed Gary Carter's grounder. Kevin Mitchell scored from third, and it was 4-1. Then moments later, Darryl Strawberry, 3 for 22 lifetime, 6 strikeouts in 1986 against Houston starter Bob Knepper. Dialed 8 for long distance on Knepper, the home run that tied the game at 4-4. The Astros took a 5-4 lead with the help of Ray Knight's error in the top of the 7th and brought ace reliever Dave Smith on in the 9th. But Wally Backman bunted his way to first base, and the Mets started off the bottom of the 9th with the tying run on first. Then after Danny Heath Hopped out to center field. Len Dykstra, the man who may or may not have been thrown at by Nolan Ryan in Game 2, lofted this home run over the right field fence for a dramatic come-from-behind New York victory 6-5. Mets lead the series 2-1. Mike Scott against Sid Fernandez in Game 4 tomorrow night. And now, let's go back to Anaheim and Al Michaels.
All right, thank you, Jim. Exciting game at Shea today, and excitement coming your way from Anaheim tonight. It'll be Clemens taking on Sutton in Game 4.
He was a has-been who found hope.
Al Michaels, Jim Palmer, Anaheim, California. As we get set for the start of Game 4, we talked about Wally Joyner in the hospital tonight. Hopefully he'll be able to play tomorrow, certainly by Tuesday if we have a 16th. What will his absence mean to the Angels defensively and also in terms of their lineup structure?
Well, George Henrik is going to play first base, and normally George is a right fielder. Played first base before. Offensively, George had a good year at .275 with 14 home runs, but Joyner in the first game, 2 doubles off Clemens, so you're going to miss him, and you just kind of wonder what it's going to do to the mood of the club. Obviously, the longer he is gone, the worse it is for the Angels.
One of the ageless wonders, one of the grand masters of the game goes to the mound of the night. He picked up his 300th victory earlier this season. Don Sutton, and I guess we've known what to expect as you look at him warming up, but really no surprises. Sutton has pretty much pitched the same way for years.
Well, he has, and over 5,000 innings, 310 wins, but you know what his favorite saying is? You never know, and you expect him to go out there. He's a craftsman. He's going to throw the ball over the plate. He's going to make you earn your way to get on base, but you never know if that'll happen. He's had tremendous success in playoff past experiences at 4-1, but he's facing a tough guy, and again, maybe he'll relax with a 2-1 edge.
You were down on the field before the game and around the Red Sox. What's their mood right now, down 2-1? This is a vital game for them.
Well, their mood is that they better do exactly what they did as they did in Game 2, which is basically make something happen. It's great to talk about your pitching, but basically what you have to do is make something happen, get something going early.
All right, so we're all set for the start of Game 4. When we come back right now, we'll check in for a report from Reykjavik, Iceland. Join Peter Jennings.
Well, Al, it could be a pretty exciting evening for you. It's been a very interesting day for all of us here in Reykjavik, the capital of Iceland, even though there has been a news blackout after the first full day of the summit meeting between Mr. Reagan and Mr. Gorbachev. There are, dare we say, heavy hints in the air that they are making some headway, particularly on the subject of arms control. Mr. Reagan and Mr. Gorbachev had about 50 minutes with each other this morning, only their interpreters and their note-takers there, and then at this afternoon session, which lasted for about 2.5 hours, they were accompanied by their Secretary of State, in Mr. Reagan's case, and the Soviet Foreign Minister with Mr. Gorbachev. And then late today, it was announced that the two delegations without the leaders would have some bilateral discussions, one on the subject of human rights and the other on the question of arms control. And it is this bilateral meeting between the Soviet and the American delegations tonight on arms control, which quite frankly has caught everybody's interest here. Standing by with us in Reykjavik is our foreign affairs correspondent, Barry Dunsmore. Barry, what does this bilateral meeting tonight suggest to you?
Well, Peter, the fact that they have bothered to publicly announce the fact that there are going to be some working groups taking place tonight suggests to me that Mr. Gorbachev and Mr. Reagan have actually come to some general understanding. Now the staff is working to put some flesh on those ideas. They didn't have to make this public, so I think we can reasonably assume that some kind of an agreement is at least at hand.
Barry, we appear to be talking about some kind of an agreement or framework for an agreement about intermediate-range nuclear missiles, right?
Yes, you can't really throw together a serious arms control agreement in a few hours. So at very best, what they will be able to do is to put together a roadmap which the negotiators in Geneva can follow. And whether that roadmap is actually going anywhere significant, we won't be able to tell until they show it to us.
Okay, Barry, we quite often get tips on what the Soviets are thinking from our Eastern European journalistic colleagues. What are you picking up from them?
Very interesting, Peter. As a matter of fact, one of the signals I was getting today is that at least some Eastern European countries are telling their people that Gorbachev is in trouble, that he really needs something here, and that he'll glob onto almost anything.
Okay, Barry, thanks very much for joining us. We will be here for the remainder of the evening in case there are any developments. We'll have a full wrap-up on an extended version of the Weekend Report And then we'll be here all day Sunday for the second meeting and perhaps even an appearance by Mr. Reagan and Mr. Gorbachev. Thanks very much for joining us. Back to the game in just a minute.
This ABC Sports exclusive is brought to you by the Heartbeat of America, today's Chevrolet, by Budweiser, Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Honda, all-terrain vehicles. Come ride with us, Honda ATVs. And by McDonald's, it's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's.
Time's running out to play McDonald's NFL Kickoff Payoff.
Oh, no! But it just got started!
Less than 2 weeks left to collect your favorite NFL player trading cards.
It's not enough time!
Less than 2 weeks left to play and win great McDonald's food prizes.
Then let's get going, guys! Come on!
So hurry in to redeem last week's cards and collect more.
McDonald's! Wait for me!
This is where it begins. Anywhere there's moisture, there's the chance of catching athlete's foot. This is where it ends. Mycotin. Only Mycotin cures athlete's foot with myconazole, a medically proven ingredient that eliminates athlete's foot. This is where athlete's foot begins. This is where it ends. Mycotin, the end of athlete's foot.
Not everyone got a vacation this summer.
I need a vacation. What do you need, some glasses? How many fingers can you see? I need a vacation.
This fall, you can still get great low fares to more places on the biggest bargain airline, United.
I got a vacation. Have a nice shower, Picorni. And I'm not just flying. I'm flying in friendly skies.
I'm out of there.
Set your sights on the best in baseball. Order the 1986 World Series program. There are more than 100 pages of articles and photographs making the World Series program a real collector's item. Send $6 check or money order to World Series Program, P.O. Box 4686, Trenton, New Jersey, 08651. P.O. Box 4686, Trenton, New Jersey, 08651. Includes your proper return address. The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.
The Pittsburgh Steelers. A win here could get them back in the division race. But Cincinnati's atop the AFC Central and plans to stay there. It's ABC's Monday Night Football.
It was a rocky start this season for Don Sutton, but a brilliant finish, 13-6 from June on. And the 41-year-old wonder goes to the mound tonight and shares these thoughts with us.
First of all, I realize how fortunate I am to still be playing, but to be playing in the playoffs and to realize that this comes at the end of what has been probably the most exciting year of my career. It's a wonderful time to sit down and count blessings and to know that it is special.
Were you sure in your own mind as the season came down the stretch that you would be a part of Mock's rotation in the playoffs?
Well, I never take anything for granted. I thought that I would be, but if he had said to me, I'd like to kind of hold you back and pitch you out of the pen, then I would have done that too. I believe that I have a job to do here, and sometimes I'd like to define what my job is, but I'm also realistic, and I realize that that is not my role to define what my job is. And one of the things I've really enjoyed about Gene this year is that there has never been any question as to what my role and my responsibility is, and I appreciate working in that framework.
And the lineup that Don Sutton will face tonight for the Boston Red Sox has Wade Boggs leading things off, and then Marty Barrett with 7 hits in the series. Bill Buckner hits third. The cleanup hitter is Jim Rice. This is the usual Boston lineup. Don Baylor is the DH. No changes. Dwight Evans hitting in the 6th spot. The catcher, Rich Gedman, batting 7th. The center fielder, Tony Armas, hitting 8th. And Spike Owen batting 9th. So Don Sutton, who is backed by an outfield of Downing, Pettis, and Jones tonight. The infield of DeSensei, Schofield, Grich, and Hendrick at first. Spelling Joyner, Boone catching, Don Sutton pitching, and Reggie Jackson is in the lineup as the DH. Here we go. Game 4, Don Sutton working on Wade Boggs. And the first pitch is a strike, 0-1. Boggs, Barrett, and Buckner in the first inning. Another strike. They play Boggs to hit to left in the outfield, but in the infield, Doug DeCense gives him a lot of room, as you can see, off the line at third.
And you're playing the percentages.
As he grounds one down to Hendrick, has trouble, recovers, and just does get him. And wouldn't you know it, Joyner goes out, and it doesn't take long for the Red Sox to hit one right down to the first baseman.
Well, here's the advantage of a right-handed first baseman versus Wally Joyner, who's left-handed. It's to the glove side. George, not exactly pretty, but he makes the play. Sutton exactly where he's supposed to be. You have an out.
Marty Barrett comes to the plate. Hendrick does have experience at first, though this season he played in only 7 games for the Angels there and started 2. But you might recall when Keith Hernandez was traded from the Cardinals to the Mets as Barrett pops it foul out of play. When Hernandez was sent to the Mets, what Whitey Herzog did was he moved Hendrick at that point from right field to first base in 1983, and that's when they opened up right field for Andy Van Slyke.
But in spite of all that, I don't think George is the type is sitting here, standing down there saying, I want the ball hit to me. And there are a lot of infielders who are in that classification. A guy that's batting, clutch situation, wouldn't mind a grounder his way.
1-1 the count. 1 out, bases empty in the top of the first inning.
An interesting thought, the night that Joyner can't play, you have a pitcher that does. Well, he's not overpowering, has a what Marcel Latchman, the pitching coach, describes as a power curveball, a good changeup. Stories have been going on for the past 21 years. You just see another curveball.
And bounce down to short, and Schofield throws him out. There are 2 down. So 2 ground balls, and Don Sutton, with 2 out and the bases empty in the first inning, goes to work on Bill Buckner.
Well, Barrett is, take a look at the dimensions here at Anaheim Stadium. Barrett has been very successful out hitting the fastball, and Sutton's the type of pitcher when he is right, and it seems that he is tonight because he's gotten a curveball over to both Boggs and Barrett. But you want to get out with breaking balls. So the thing I was trying to say is that this is the type of pitcher, though, in looking at Don Sutton, that you are going to get a lot of ground balls, and George Hendrick better be aware of that fact. And I think he already is.
Bill Buckner, who's been cold in this series and 1 for 13, but at least he's facing a right-hander. That's as futile as we've ever seen Buckner look last night facing Candelaria when he struck out twice, lost his bat on each occasion, and then grounded out to first. And the 2 renewing acquaintances, Sutton and Buckner, both members of the Dodgers' 74 National League Championship team. To deep left center field, but Pettis is there and has room, and the Red Sox are done in the first after a half. It is Boston nothing. The Angels coming up.
In the minors, you must have called it all 1,000 times. Then one day, you got the call.
What's this, rookie umpire?
Here's to you, beach with age for that clean, crisp taste that says Budweiser.
Compliments of that gentleman.
This bars for you. Listen to the heartbeat. Listen to the heartbeat of America.
If you have a dream, put yourself in today's Chevrolet Corvette and listen to your heartbeat.
Heartbeat of America. That's today's Chevrolet.
We talked with Jim Palmer about Roger Clemens on 3 days rest, and here are the man's thoughts himself.
Well, it's funny. After All-Star break, halfway through the year, every time I went out to throw on the side in between starts, I had my arm felt a little bit more loose and more livelier. I don't, like they said, you might feel that way for 4 innings, and then your arms tend to tire. But In the All-Star game, I felt really well. You know, you pitch on adrenaline a lot, and that'll be the case here, too. I'll just have to reach back and reach a little deeper in certain situations.
Have there been any adverse effects of the Stafaro line drive?
Not that I know of. I guess some type of fluid or something when I was hit moved into the back of the joint, and that's what kind of made it a little stiff. And other than that seems to be gone. The inflammation's gone way down, and I feel good. I felt very strong the other night, and maybe too strong, but just felt so good. I wanted to get the ball to the plate, and I just felt overpowering. But like I said, my ball was running up and away.
And the lineup tonight that Clemens will face has Rupert Jones, Bobby Grich, and Brian Downing. Then Reggie Jackson, Doug DeCinces, and George Hendrick. Dick Schofield bats 7th, Bob Boone 8th, and Gary Pettis hitting in the 9 spot. Defensively, the Red Sox, as usual, with Rice, Armas, and Evans in the outfield. Boggs, Owen, Barrett, and Buckner. Gedman back of the plate. And Roger Clemens on 3 days rest. And we mentioned he pitched on 3 days rest following the All-Star game, but the difference, of course, is that in the All-Star game he worked 3 innings, and he worked 3 perfect innings. He came back 3 days later on the 19th of July. In a game at Seattle, he went 8 innings and gave up 4 runs, 6 hits, but won the game 9-4. Rupert Jones takes high ball 1. Jones, one of 9 different leadoff hitters employed by Gene Mauch this season.
Saw Gary Pettis last night. Tonight, Rupert Jones, and I think the first thing we'll see is the control again. Struggled with it up in Boston. I think the most accurate statement that he made in watching him pitch in the first game is that maybe he was a little bit too strong, only an inning and 2/3 over 10 days. And believe it or not, even though the great velocity is a control pitcher, but within the strike zone, right there already, that's really half as many break balls he threw in 66 pitches. Took him maybe way in the 60s to throw even 2 breaking balls. So he's going to change speeds tonight. We'll see what happens.
And the 1-2 pitch is hit off his foot. That's a foul ball. And so it's still 1-2. Now when a foul ball gets down to first base that rapidly, it stinks.
That's what happens when you try to pull a ball top-handed. Boston batting instructor Walt Reniak teaches you to take that top hand off, so you kind of get under the ball. Turned on that one right on his foot. You take a look at Frank Robbins, one of my former teammates.
Here again, as was the case last night. So trainer Rick Smith has checked Jones out as he stands back in the count 2-2.
One thing to mention is that when we say with 3 days rest, that is really not that abnormal for some ball clubs. But in Boston, they have gone with 5 men. I think under normal circumstances, without the injury of Tom Seaver, we would be seeing Tom tonight.
Down goes Jones. So Rupert is gone, and we'll take a look at Bobby Grich. That's really the only thing this series is missing. Is you watch Jones go down. It would have been fabulous tonight to have Sutton against Seaver.
310 wins, I can't believe, against 310 wins. Couldn't think of a much better matchup. Seaver a little bit a harder thrower than Don Sutton, but has become extremely crafty at his age. Something you have to do to pitch that long.
0-1 the count on Grich. Grich is still at second base tonight, and I say still at second base because Bobby can play first, has played there this season. And so Gene Mauch had a couple of options when Joyner had to go to the hospital. And one of them was what he's done tonight, Hendrick at first, Grich at second. Another option would have been to move Grich to first base and have Rob Wilfong play second, but Wilfong has been in a horrendous slump. Wilfong the other night was 0 for 3 facing Clemens. And he's 6 for his last 73, so Mauch opting for Hendrick and Grich.
Doesn't seem to be showing the ill effects at about 96 miles per hour. Again, I don't think you really see any effect unless his control is off until maybe the 5th or 6th inning, and I'm sure that John McNamara, manager of the Red Sox, will be watching closely. Something we talked about early, a magnificent season at 24-4, but only 10 complete games. So They've gotten a lot of runs for Roger, averaged over 6 runs a game. If they do that tonight, I don't really think that 3 or 4 days rest is going to make a whole lot of difference. It hasn't all year.
Johnny Mack, who's going with a 3-man rotation in this series. We're going to see Bruce Hurst tomorrow. And Grich has gone on strike. So that's 2 strikeouts. Jones and Grich both go down, and Brian Downing comes up.
Well, Rupert Jones went down on a slider. Once you see that as a hitter, figure, well, maybe he'll throw me a breaking ball with 2 strikes. That time it's a fastball, and Bobby really literally swung at that ball when it was in the glove.
Brian Downing was the man who did the damage the other night. 4 runs batted in, 2 off Clemens, and then 2 when the Sox had to go to the bullpen. Check swing, little bouncer. Nice play by Clemens from his knees. He gets him. And so 2 strikeouts and a soft roller, and after 1, no score in Anaheim. Doug DeCinces, another of those veterans who may or may not be back in 1987, talks about his future.
I see myself definitely playing a couple of more years, and what I do when I'm retired, I have quite a few business interests that I would like to be involved with. My father has a construction corporation that I'm involved with, and I look at that. I also look at the fact that I would like to be possibly involved in some way with baseball, because baseball's been a whole part of my life, and I think it's very difficult for somebody who's had it. I'm 36 years old, and my dream as a 7-8-year-old was to be where I am today, and to all of a sudden go cold turkey after playing all those years probably be a very difficult transition. I just hope that I'm prepared for that, and I would like to somehow be involved with baseball.
For number 11, that's him, Doug DeCinces. And his Angels with the Boston Red Sox are scoreless as we go to the top of the 2nd inning. Rice, Baylor, and Evans against Don Sutton. Jim Rice, 3 for 12 in this series. Boone won't have room. 0-1.
I think that one number that jumps out at you when you look at Don Sutton this year, Al, is the 31 home runs in 207 innings. Last night, Oil Can Boyd with 32 home runs and a little bit over that, 214 innings, eventually caught up with him. And I think the reason that Don Sutton has a propensity to throw some home runs is that he doesn't throw as hard as he used to be. He's a control pitcher. He's around the plate. So if he makes good pitches, he can be tough. But if he gets behind, that's when he has to come in, and that's when the guys unload.
Rice fouling it away in the count 1-2. Sutton trying to give himself a present tonight. Don and his wife Patty celebrating their 18th anniversary tonight. And I guess when you set a wedding date of October 11th, it means the Dodgers were not in postseason play in 1968. Their wedding day. And they weren't. Grounded foul. Still 1 ball, 2 strikes on Jim Rice. Both clubs going down 1-2-3, 2nd inning at Anaheim on a cloudy and very pleasant evening. Lights having 90%, 80% effect right now, so the lighting in the late afternoon, early evening, really no factor. Little squibber off to the right, charged by Grich, shovels and gets him.
What makes that such a nice play is where Bobby Grich is playing. He's playing way up behind second base, up the middle, which is where you usually play Jim Rice. You can see the long run. Okay, one of the best second basemen around. Lost a couple of steps, but not on that play. It makes the play easy. And Rice really doesn't, what we would call, have great foot speed after all the knee operation.
Don Baylor is the batter. 1-0. That's one of the keynotes of this series, in fact. Very little foot speed. We've talked about the fact Pettis is really the only full-time legitimate threat to go. As Baylor pops it foul off to the left and back out of play. And in a way, it's sort of a, I don't want to call it a trend, but it's an aberration from what's been taking place in the past, because so many of the teams that have been so successful in recent years have been built around speed. When you look at the playoffs last year in the National League, the Cardinals with their great speed, Coleman and company, the Dodgers had good speed. In the American League, Kansas City and Toronto with people that can run. Fouled away. And then this year with two lumbering ball clubs in that sense in the American League playoffs.
Boy, did that speed in center field make a difference last night. Pettis turned a number of base hits into outs. There's a Don Sutton fan, obviously. Been out here every night he pitched. He already knows he's got his good stuff. But it's fashionable. I think, Al, from doing games as a former American League player, as you, Moose has excellent hands. Talking about Moose Stubing, the third base coach.
And our cameraman, Hutch.
Right. Moose said, at least I'm doing something right. I have good hands. But if you look at the ballparks in the National League, they're a little bit bigger, so maybe you do need a little bit more of speed. Same thing in Kansas City. Big ballpark. So Toronto, one of those teams that has a rare blend of both power and speed. Jesse Barfield with a fabulous year, one of the young power hitters, 40 home runs. George Bell, 31. So they can beat you in many ways. Red Sox with only 41 stolen bases don't exactly beat you with their feet.
And only Barrett was in double figures. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. Bases empty in the second inning. No score in Anaheim. And Sutton's 2-2 pitch is popped in the air toward the dugout. And this one is back out of play. So Bader keeps fouling them away. 2-2.
When you ask the Boston hitters what it's like to hit off Sutton, they said, especially Wade Boggs, he said he has this little fastball that just moves about 5 or 6 inches. And if you go back and look at Don over the course of his career, he's been accused of scuffing the ball, not in the sense that Mike Scott. Don has never been the overpowering pitcher like Mike Scott with 95-mile-per-hour fastball, but the ball just moves enough to make you hit it instead of on the meat of the bat, up on the trademark.
Hand swing. Fooled him. Down he goes. First strikeout for Sutton. Good pitch.
Well, if you want to throw a breaking ball, this is where you want to throw it. The power curveball blowing away down in the strike zone. Taylor swings right over it.
2 down. Sutton has set down the first 5, and Dwight Evans comes to the plate. Evans 2 for 12 in the playoffs. And he's hit Sutton well through his career. Don spending almost all of his early career in the National League and then coming over in for a strike. Sutton many years with the Dodgers, then to Houston, traded to Milwaukee at the end of '82 and wound up pitching in postseason for the Brewers, then to the A's last year and to the Angels before the season was done.
We talked all series about the way Bob Boone receives the ball. It is, I think, especially important tonight that Sutton gets an extra inch or so of the plate, make him more effective.
Splintered bat, pop up to third. There's the sensei. And 2 perfect innings for Don Sutton. At the end of an inning and a half, Boston nothing, California nothing. Tomorrow's lineup, baseball-wise, our game is the early one, Game 5, Boston against California, 2:30 Eastern and 11:30 in the morning when we come on the air out here. First and Witt, Game 4 in New York. Houston and the Mets tomorrow night at 8 Eastern time. As Reggie Jackson, Doug DeCinces, and George Hendrick come up in the bottom of the second with no score. Reggie, so instrumental in last night's victory, a ground single tying the game, and then a walk, and that, what would you call it? A sliding dive in the 8th inning. 1-1.
Well, I think at 25 you call it an aggressive slide.
You know what that says?
No, Al, tell me.
I love California. You got it. Angels. 1-2. Read my left, right?
Exactly. And that's the one pitch that Reggie has told us that he has to lay off. Of course, it's also the one pitch that makes Roger Clemens Roger Clemens. Ball looks so hittable, but at 95, 96 miles per hour, up out of the strike zone, tough to catch up with it. See you later.
Real tough. 3 strikeouts for Clemens. 1 down, and we'll take a look at Doug DeCinces.
Another look, and Reggie said, I had trouble hitting this pitch when I was in my 20s. I know I can't hit it now, but again, he can't lay off it.
Doug DeCinces, 3 for 13. Somebody sent me a note, and it's a good question. Want to know why this team is called the California Angels when there is another American League team in the state, that being the Oakland A's, and it goes back to the Angels being here before the A's moved from Kansas City. In for a strike. Remember, this is a franchise born in 1961 as an expansion team and granted to Los Angeles. They played in old Wrigley Field in L.A., and then they played in Dodger Stadium for 4 years. And they were known as the Los Angeles Angels. And then finally, when this ballpark was built, there was some question as to what they should be called. It's in Anaheim, but there were a lot of people who didn't want them called the Anaheim Angels or the Orange County Angels, so they just took the whole state, a la the Minnesota Twins at that point. And thus they, instead of being known as perhaps the Southern California Angels had Oakland been in the league, just took the whole Golden State with them. 1 and 2.
You remember Anaheim back in 1966? Disneyland, the hotel, and I doubt if they even had one of those hamburger places back then.
Booming area now. 1-2 pitch is inside. 2 and 2. It's funny, though, by moving down here, the Angels really established their identity. When they played at Dodger Stadium, I don't want to say they were unwilling guests, but the Angels used to refer to Dodger Stadium as Chavez Ravine. When they'd promote a homestand, they'd say, well, the Angels will be in off the road coming home to Chavez Ravine so as not to acknowledge the Dodgers. 3 and 2.
I played a doubleheader my first year in baseball in 1965. They had 655 people to watch it at Chavez Ravine.
3 balls, 2 strikes to count. 1 out, bases empty. Bottom of the 2nd inning. Base hit into right field. So DeCinces gets on, and that's the first hit of the game.
Great 3 and 2 slider. You got to give Doug a lot of credit. This is really where you want the pitch. Doug's a good fastball hitter. Look at him go down and get it. Drive it into right field. The ball that he tried to pull, no doubt a ground ball to shortstop for an out. Went with it. You always get credit for a good pitch as a pitcher, but you got to give Doug a lot of credit for going the other way.
Now Hendrick, who spells Joyner tonight, coming up with DeCinces at first and 1 away. Red Sox hoping to get to the World Series for the first time in 75. They have not won a World Series title since 1918. The Angels, we mentioned, born in 61. The Angels have never been to the World Series. And we were talking about their history in 1962. It was amazing. This ragtag team of some up-and-coming players and a lot of old vets wound up in the race until Labor Day, but finished third. Fouled away. And that year, in their 2nd year, and you know how bad expansion teams normally are, they were in first place on the 4th of July, and the LA Times had that classic headline the next day, "Heaven Can Wait, Angels in first on 4th. DeCinces at first base, held on by Buckner, 1 out, bottom of the 2nd inning. Slowly hit to third. Boggs has to wait, throws, and gets him. He had 1 play, and that was the only play, and DeCinces is now at second base. So 2 down with Doug in scoring position. And one of last night's heroes, Dick Schofield, who hit the tie-breaking home run in the bottom of the 7th inning. If you didn't read many quotes from Schofield today, he is as shy as they come. And he's just uncomfortable answering questions and talking about himself, so he did an escape act out the back door last night.
Smartest thing to do. I think one of the most difficult things for players sometimes in postseason play is to deal with the media crush. So many media people here certainly have a job to do, but it can be distracting. He just said, hey, I hit a hanging slider out of here. for the second run. I'm come back tomorrow and try to do it again.
Schofield takes on with that media crush we talked about last night and the rumors about Boyd as the crowd gets on Clemens. It wasn't that close, but remember there are a lot of people sitting in Santa Ana in this ballpark in the nether reaches of the upper deck, so it's a different perspective. 1-0 the count. But last night, the oil can Boyd auto accident rumors, which were refuted as it's fouled away again. And then, of all things, the oddity is Don Sutton was involved in what was referred to as a fender bender. One report I saw had the wheels coming off the back of his car and the rest. In talking with him before the game, a fender bender is what it was yesterday.
Traffic being what it is out here, and having your mind on pitching against Mr. Clemens, I think you could be distracted. Plus, he's old, face it. You lose your reflexes when you get older.
He was broadsided, though. The 1-1 pitch is fouled away in the count 1-2.
Well, then it was a side bender, not a fender bender if he was broadside.
Full report on your late local news. One and two the count. Roger Clemens working on 3 days rest with 2 down. The Sensei at second in the bottom of the second inning. Still 1-2. Speaking of film at 11. Strikeouts in 2 innings for Roger Clemens. After 2, no score in Anaheim. Go to the 3rd inning. This guy by the name of Jim Palmer took some heat during the All-Star game in Houston for some supposed remarks, which wound up in Houston papers and subsequently further on, about Roger Clemens, who reflects on it.
Jim had said something in the paper the morning that came out in the morning of the All-Star game that I was going to have problems in the All-Star game trying to overthrow or something like that. And my family didn't take it well, and I said that I knew him and I knew how the papers can twist things around. But my family, all my brothers and sisters said they would like to meet him, you know, like we want to get him or something. But the guys in the clubhouse said that, you know, they know why he said it, because evidently he must have gave up some bombs in his All-Star games. I don't know, but he's given up some home runs in one All-Star game, 3 home runs or something.
And you think that was easy?
He got that from Weaver, didn't he?
What a great motivator I was, though. 9 straight outs,
right.
Only 25 pitches.
MVP of the game.
Of course, I did that, too, when I was his age. When I got older, I had the problems.
Meanwhile, speaking of older, no problems for Sutton as he works on Gedman here in the 3rd inning. Don has set down the first 6. Gedman, Armas, and Owen for the Red Sox. No score. Out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike. Sutton had 2 very good starts against Boston in '86. And there, as you can see, Sutton is trying to move alone past Carlton and Hunter and John and Keeson and that man to whom we just referred. Each with 4 games won in the history of the championship series. Inside, Sutton this year against the Red Sox worked 13 innings, gave up just 1 run, and won twice. He beat him 7-1 and 3-0. To deep right field, but room for Jones. 1 away.
The pitch you just missed. Again, we talked about the 31 home runs. talked about the 2 wins against the Red Sox. The one thing, and Don talked about these in the interviews, is the fact that Gene Mauch realizes that after 75 to 90 pitches, he has to really look very carefully at Don Sutton. That's a pitch that later in the ball game could be a home run. Not really a mistake, but something that when you lose a little velocity turns into a mistake.
Armas now. Tony is 1 for 11 in the playoffs. Strike. So what you're saying, of course, is that you don't expect Sutton to go all the way, which means you have to think about the bullpen, which means you have to think about somebody like a Donnie Moore, who might be called on again tonight after working 2 innings last night. And 2 relatively long innings for Moore in last night's game. Donnie came on to preserve it, but he faced 11 batters.
Well, there's good and bad to that. You'd like to get a guy some experience, and hasn't pitched in almost a week, but did throw a lot of pitches. He's been bothered by his shoulder problems all year, so you wonder if he will come back and how effective he will be.
0-2 pitch is in there, strike 3. As Armas got fooled, I think he got fooled on the location and the speed of the pitch, both.
Well, again, you get him looking away, and look at Boone sitting on the inside part of the plate. Gives the umpire a good look. I don't really know about the velocity, but he painted the inside corner. And again, if you do have a fastball that runs like Sutton, sometimes it will move left, a little bit right. It ran back for strike 3.
2 down. And Owen is the batter. One and 0. I don't think he was surprised when I say surprised at the speed of the pitch, surprised that it was excessive. I think Don took enough off of it that Tony was shocked on both counts. 2-0 the count. Of course, you've got Sutton on the mound and accused of scuffing the ball through his career. At least, if nothing else, it's something that the batters have to think about. So you think about Sutton, and then you think about Boone framing, and you can go crazy. 2-1. We've talked about Bob Boone and how many strikes he can steal with his astuteness back of the plate. Another gorgeous shot. Anaheim Stadium, home of the Angels and home of the Los Angeles Rams as well. Two and two the count.
Interesting thought about the width of home plate, 17 inches, but if you take the baseball and put the one edge of it on, and then you have a catcher that can give you an extra inch or two, you really do expand it. Both pitchers pitching extremely well tonight. That's the fastest pitch. But then again, we saw in the first game that velocity doesn't mean a whole lot. Clemens up there constantly, 96, gave up more runs than he ever has in his career. That's 8.
Hit down a shortstop. Schofield takes care of his opposite number, and there's 3 perfect innings for the ageless wonder. No score after 2.5.
I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, well I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord, I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord. I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord, oh Lord.
Exceptionally smooth Michelob. It could make tonight the best part of your day.
This ABC Sports exclusive is being brought to you by Exceptionally Smooth Michelob. It could make tonight the best part of your day.
We can save you a 50-cent call to Sports Phone for the moment. Miami wins today, big over West Virginia. Alabama second ranked, easy time of it. Michigan wins easily. Penn State had a tussle but came from behind. Oklahoma routs Texas. Auburn a winner. Arkansas gets upset by Texas Tech 17-7. And the Trojans of SC get upset by Washington State. Boone takes on the outside corner for a strike, 0-1. Iowa wins. Some other scores. Pitt beats Notre Dame. Ohio State knocks off Indiana, and in a tight one, Illinois beats Purdue. Boone fouling it away. And Georgia Tech routing NC State. Boston College a winner. Army upsets Tennessee. Air Force routs Navy. Texas A&M over Houston. Oregon State beats Cal. Arizona State over Oregon. And UCLA gets by Arizona by 7. No balls, 2 strikes to count. And in there for strike 3. And Boone muttering at Nick Premigan on his way back to the dugout. And that's 5 strikeouts now for Clemens.
A dose of Bob Boone's own medicine. Rich Gedman does a nice job of getting the outside pitch. You go back to that, I thought was a key inning in the first game, which was a 4-run inning. A couple of questionable pitches, not to say that they were strikes, but you'd like to get them. Led to 3 walks, some hits, and 4 runs. And that's the one thing that Roger Clemens has been able to do all year is stay away from the big inning.
Pettis breaks his bat and hits it into left field for a base hit. And that's the Angels' second hit. Pettis had a walk and a run-scoring single off Clemens the other night.
Well, that was on a breaking ball. This is a fastball that breaks his bat. Puts a guy that stole 50 bases on base. We said other than Dick Schofield. A guy that can really fly. And during the course of the season with this battery, talking about Clemens and Gedman, 21 steal attempts, only 7 successful.
Pettis back to first base.
Excuse me, Gedman threw out 50% of the other base stealers over the course of the season. So I think really Clemens, a tall guy with a big windup, but he gets the ball to home plate in a hurry. Right there, a pretty good move, and he's very aware. The way Don Sutton's pitching, and Roger is a very astute young man, he realizes he can't give up a lot of runs, and 1 run may make a big difference.
The count.
This is what the base runner is looking at. Of course, it's in slow-mo. Really not that high of a leg tip. The big thing in helping Gedman be able to throw runners out is the fact he throws a lot of fastball. The ball gets up to home plate a lot quicker, a lot sooner.
Very close.
One thing about base stealers, look at Gary Pettis get back up, and now Roger Clemens, is that they also have bad streaks. And Gary, out of his first 17 attempts, was thrown out 9 times, and then only 5 times out of his last 46. So started out poorly and then got very hot. Really the type of hitting, as we see a conference between Rich Gedman and Roger Clemens, that's what the Angels want Gary Pettis to do. We saw a 2-run home run last night. That's a bonus. They want him to get jammed, get on base. Because with his speed, he sets up a situation where it puts a lot of pressure on the defense and the pitcher and the catcher.
1-0 the count.
You want to keep him honest, but you don't want to lose your concentration and make bad pitches. There's already ball 1 on Rupert Jones. Key here is not to let him get a running lead.
Pitch out. 2-0 the count. So Pettis, the only true speed factor in the playoffs, is very much on Clemens' mind. Pettis went to Castlemont High School in Oakland, California, and that's Joe Morgan's alma mater. So they breed speed. And there he goes, and the pitch is high, and Gedman's throw is there in time. Rich Gedman rifling it down to second. That throw not quite as perfect as the one the other night. A little bit higher, but right there.
Now, the formula for throwing out base runners, a quick release, by the catcher, a quick release by the pitcher. You see the tag from Marty Barrett. Excuse me, Spike Olin, and a good tag. We saw all those perform those. Also, the ball was up and away. It's a pitch that Gedman can come out and come up throwing. And a very questionable call. It's a close call. And a lot of times umpires will go not whether you really tag him, whether the ball beat him there.
And now Jones gets on. Last night there was no question. Gedman throwing a clinic strike down to second to get him. This time a much closer play, but Pettis is out of there. Jones is at first with 2 down. And now Bobby Grich, the batter. Grich, a .268 hitter with 9 homers during the regular season. And again, he was, for the most part, platooned with Rob Wilfong at second base. Grich did not face Clemens the other night when Wilfong was in there. Broken bat, bouncer, foul. And the count is 0-1. So Bobby Grich over to get a new piece of wood as Rupert Jones makes his way back to first base with 2 down in the bottom of the 3rd inning and no score. And again, for any late tuners in, Wally Joyner with a bacterial infection, lower leg, and hospitalized overnight. His status in question. I guess if it was the NFL and an injury report, you would put down questionable for Sunday. Probable for Tuesday.
Well, I saw him going out in the cart, and he was on crutches, a smile on his face, but wasn't very happy. But then again, that's the case. He's a very likable young man, and again, you miss him defensively. This would be the slot in the order where he would be batting. Again, 2 doubles off Clemens in the first game, but Rogers pitching a little bit better. In fact, much better than that.
In there, no balls, 2 strikes to count on Grich. Joyner, of course, is hoping that he doesn't even have to think about Tuesday because the Angels could wrap it up by tomorrow right here. They're up 2 games to 1. And down he goes, and Roger Clemens has struck out 2 in each of the first 3 innings, and that's 6 thus far. Scoreless as we go to the 4th. I mean, folks, how many thousands of times have we said, there's Bob Uecker? Folks, there's Bob Uecker.
I finally had to come over here, Al. I've been seeing all the signs and everything. I started looking for it myself. I want to see if this is phony or if it's for real. This is for real. This is great.
Where are you sitting tonight?
Actually, I'm not sitting anywhere. I was on top of the truck, and Chet Forty kicked me off of there. Chuck Howard downstairs. They told me to go up here. They said, don't sit on top of the truck.
Mr. Belvedere?
Yeah.
Starting?
Well, we've had 2 shows on already, Al, but I make my singing debut on television on Mr. Belvedere on the 17th of October. So I know you're thrilled about that, aren't you?
Yuki, have you gone Hollywood?
No, not yet. So I'm still living in Milwaukee. I'm commuting.
All right. You still living in an airport hotel here?
You got that right, Al.
All right. Great seeing you, Bob.
Good seeing you too, Al.
Okay. The real Bob Uecker. As we go to the 4th inning. Boggs leads things off. Boggs, Barrett, and Buckner.
Of course, this is a typical Bob Uecker situation. Not a lot of hits, and nice to see you, Bob.
Drilled to the gap in right center field. A base hit and more as it gets by Jones, and Boggs has at least 2, and he'll stop at second with a double. So Wade Boggs starts the 4th inning with Boston's first hit.
Overhead look of a high curveball that really one of the few mistakes Don Sutton has made. And when you do it to the batting champion, you usually pay the price. Jones can't catch up with it. And Boggs, who's been really not hampered, but missed the last weekend of the series with a hamstring pull, easily into second.
Now Marty Barrett at the plate. And he bunts to get him over, and it's a good bunt, and Don Sutton throws to first, and that advances Boggs. So 1-3 as Hendrick covers at first base, and Bill Buckner comes to the plate. So no score, fourth inning, and the Red Sox with their first threat. And for Barrett, it's a typical situation for Marty in laying one down because he led the league with 18 sacrifices. Now we'll see if Buckner can at least hit a fly ball deep enough to get Boggs home. He'll fly to center in the first, and he's really struggling in the playoffs at 1 for 14. And the Angel infield comes about halfway up on the left side and is back on the right side. Ball one. So you've got a choice. It depends how sharply hit a ground ball would be. Boggs is not particularly speedy.
Buckner, we saw him at his worst last night, mainly because of the excellence of John Candelaria, but I don't know what kind of year he's had with the runners on third. Last year, fantastic, 36 out of 49. Runners almost 80% in, so contact hitter.
In the air to shallow right field. This will be interesting. Boggs tags and does not come, and it's a good thing for him. And the crowd salutes him with a roof, roof, roof.
Well, we saw Roop really not misplay balls last night because they would have been difficult catches. But here, as we said, a good defensive outfielder. Right here, you see the strong throw, and Rene Latchman sent him, what they call a dead duck.
By 20 feet. Now Rice with 2 out. High, ball one, 1-0. Rice bounced out in the second inning. One and one. Rice, a model of consistency in so many areas, and that particular one, runners in scoring position, 337 average this season. And they throw the ball out. Crowd not happy about Bremigan's checking.
That really doesn't mean anything. On the flight out, we talked about traveling with some of the American League umpires, and I asked them, because Sutton does have this reputation, what is the ruling? They said if the ball is defaced and you throw it, they should warn you, which was not done, and then the next time you throw a defaced ball, you're out of the game. But I think Jim Rice just wanted to check and see if it was scuffed.
1-2. After that pitch, you should ask for the old ball back.
Exactly.
Rice should.
Oh, he started Rice off with a high fastball, so then you figure, well, I'll look for a fastball because he's behind the count and he throws me a changeup, and then you figure, well, you've seen the changeup, maybe he'll come back with a fastball and he throws you a great curveball. You don't know what to expect. You don't know how hard it's going to be thrown. You don't know if it's going to be inside or outside.
And it's hit right to Schofield. And the Sox strand Boggs at third. No score after 3.5. All right, Monday Night Football, and that's the matchup this Monday. The Pittsburgh Steelers against the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals vying for the AFC Central Championship Monday, 9 Eastern Time. Spike Owen right there. Well, I suppose that is the front row, isn't it? Bottom of the fourth inning with Downing at the plate. In there for a strike, and the count is 0-1. Downing, Jackson, and DeSensei in the bottom of the fourth. Roger Clemens with 6 strikeouts through 3. 0-2. Clemens, game 1, as you can see, total of 85 pitches. And tonight, less than half that figure through 3 innings.
Again, talking about the distinction between being a good pitcher and a great pitcher is, I guess, number one, having ability, but also being able to pitch. And that's the one thing that Roger Clemens has always been able to do, with the exception of that first game. Incredible year. Very rarely just goes out and throws the ball.
2-2.
And that's a pitch that has a purpose. A couple of breaking balls early in the count. You want to make Downing aware of the inside part of the plate. And you have a tendency to do that with a little chin music of about 95 miles per hour. Makes the breaking ball away more effective.
Just inside. 3-2 the count.
Downing had one of those years with over 95 RBIs and 20 home runs, but he also had a personal best of 90 walks. So he makes you throw the ball over.
Downing backing away. 3-2 the count. Jackson on deck. Then to Sensei. Still 3-2. Thinking about that little chin music a moment ago as Downing asked for a new bat. You know, something that I think a lot of fans don't think about, especially if you haven't played baseball and on this level. When that ball comes in, not only is it visually in close to you, but that sound it makes. People don't think of that.
Well, people don't believe it, but in certain, I guess, atmospheric conditions or whatever, you can actually hear a thrown baseball. Maybe it's high humidity where you hear the seams, and of course the seams make the ball spin, and in part spin on the ball and makes it move and whatever. You talk about the spitball save. You throw a ball, a spitter, without throwing the seams. It comes out without any spin. That's why it has a tendency to drop. But you can hear the baseball, especially at about 95 miles per hour. A little louder noise.
Grounded foul. I don't know how many fans would ever have that opportunity, because you wouldn't want to stand in there and have Clemens throwing up to the plate. But if you ever get a chance to, let's say, stand by a batting cage when somebody is maybe coming back off the disabled list and really wants to air it out, that sort of thing, you'd get a pretty good idea.
About a half a second to make up your mind if you're a hitter.
That's high for ball 4. So Downing is on. Leadoff man is on, and that's the first time that's happened in the game. And here is Jackson.
Again, we talked about the velocity, you know, and you get, I think really you get caught up in this radar gun stuff of 95, 96, and whatever. I think the only time it really helps you if you have a pitcher, and Robert Clemens is not one of these, that loses stuff during a game. So you can't make quality pitches. He's throwing 90 early in the game, and all of a sudden it's down to 82. It gives you an indication. I would think tonight, it's an interesting thing about the Red Sox. They do not tell their pitchers how hard they throw. They keep a chart, but I was talking to Joe Sambino, they won't tell you. But if Roger Clemens on 3 days rest would drop 6 or 7 miles per hour late in the ball game, and I was John McNamara, I'd be a little bit concerned, because this did not happen with his normal rest. Radar gun also doesn't show movement, location, ability to put the ball in the corner. A lot of scouts say, well, it's one of the guidelines, but it's certainly not the only one.
2-1 on a breaking pitch.
A little bit of a changeup. Clemens does have 4 pitches, and when he is right, can get them over. It's a leadoff walk with a 3-2 breaking ball, which normally you think when you have a good fastball, you throw something you've been getting over, but he has been getting all pitches over.
Milestone home run coming off Clemens here in May. To center field, deep deepest part of the park, but it stays in for Armas. And Reggie just misses. One down.
When you get a little bit older, the bat gets a little bit slower, and Clemens gets the ball in on him just enough that he can't get the bat head out.
Night games, Nebraska leading Oklahoma State. Bob Boone will want to know that Stanford leads Washington at the half 14-10. SMU 24, Baylor 14 in the second. And Georgia leads LSU at the half. Doug DeCinces singled in the second inning. Downing at first base, one away. DeCinces, we saw him muttering to himself last night. He's talking to himself. He's swinging too hard in his estimation. Trying to slow it down just a little bit.
I think we saw a conscious effort at that. Pitch he took to right field. Good breaking ball from Clemens. If you really are aggressive and you're pulling out your left shoulder, which is a cardinal sin for a right-handed batter, you end up grounding out, popping up. He just went the other way. So what he is trying to do is to wait. And when you wait, you try to hit the ball right back at the pitcher.
Check swing foul. 1 ball, 1 strike. No score. Bottom of the fourth in game 4. Angels on top of the series, 2-1, 15 tomorrow, and it's early. And we'll be on the air with you at 2:30 with our pregame coverage, 2:30 Eastern time, 11:30 in the morning out here on the West Coast. And if a 6th game is necessary, it would be back to Boston Tuesday night. 1-1 the count.
Doug's first move is towards the plate, and again, it's easy for us to say up here that the pitch is really not that close. It's not as close as, say, you watched the game the other night, Nolan Ryan and Lenny Dykstra. Close enough to make you concerned.
Do you suppose somebody might be buying Dykstra dinner if he walked into a restaurant in New York tonight?
What an incredible finish to a game.
2-2. Certainly, Monsieur Dykstra, the Park View. Two and two the count. 1 out. Downing at first base in the bottom of the 4th inning. 0-0.
Go back to that Don Sutton phrase, you never know about the game of baseball. You anticipate that Strawberry could get you back in the game with a 4-1 deficit with a 3-run shot, but trailing by 1 run, is Lenny Dykstra the guy who's going to hammer one over the right field fence to beat you? Matter of fact, when you go back to do some of the games that we did, Lenny was up there about 330, 340, you know. Bill Robinson, the batting coach, felt that the reason that his average slipped down into the 290s because he tried to hit home runs, and then when he probably didn't even try today, he hits one.
Toward the hole, backhanded by Owen, who goes to Barrett, and it gets by him.
There was no excuse for the throwing error by Spike Owen, but Gene Mauch looked like Owen broke to his left and has to come back. You won't see it here. Doesn't have to go a long way. From this angle, really a throw that Marty Barrett normally would handle. Not a good throw. Not where you want it. Take another look at another angle. Marty certainly knows you're not going to get a double play. You like the ball right about at waist level.
we'll get the scoring for you momentarily with runners at first and second and one out. Hendrick is at the plate. 0-1 the count. The error is charged to Owen. The runners at first and second. One down. And it's 0-2 on Hendrick. Gene Mock in the Angel dugout. Yep, he's back managing tonight in full view of things. Spending the latter two-thirds of the game last night in the runway.
He described last night's game as the best game I never saw.
Just off the plate. Red Sox having problems on the left side of the infield in this series. That's Owen's third error. Fox has made two, and Spike has been throwing very tentatively.
Again, they got him for his glove. Only made 4 errors in 43 games during the regular season. I would say there's a little more pressure here. It's been telling.
Little chopper toward the middle. Here's Owen again. Steps on second, throws to first, and so he extricates himself with a 6-3 double play. And at the end of 4, still no score. One of the off-the-field leaders of the Boston Red Sox, talking about his future. I asked him if he wanted to manage.
Well, not to be fired, but I'd like to have the opportunity to sit down and play with a lineup and play with a pitching staff and win with it. Sometimes you're not going to have very good players, but I would like that challenge someday.
What if it meant going to the minor leagues, going to winter ball for a couple of seasons? Would you be willing to do that?
I wouldn't mind doing that at all. I don't have to start in the major leagues. I think Frank Robinson, I played for him 2 years down in winter ball. So you have to start somewhere, and some of the greatest players that play to manage down in the minor leagues and work their way up.
And it's Don Baylor who starts things for Boston as we go to the 5th inning. Baylor, Evans, and Gedman against Don Sutton in a scoreless 4th game. 0-1 the count. Baylor struck out in the 2nd inning. Sutton has struck out 2 through 4. He's given up 1 hit, batted double by Boggs, who was stranded at 3rd in the 4th inning. That's been the Sox' only threat. To deep left center field, and Pettis going back has room and a warning track out. So some long fly outs tonight. 1 gone. Evans coming up. Evans popping out in the 2nd inning. Game moving briskly. No score in the 5th. Swing and a miss in the count 0-1. And Evans wants Bremergen to take a look at the baseball.
And the reason he asked that, he went out to get that pitch, and it's what Wade Boggs said, that the ball just runs a little bit. And that bothers hitters. They wonder how a mere mortal, even though I think anybody that wins 310 games, and watch this swing, the ball just sails a little bit. You see the grimace, and he's out in front. Really what Dwight Evans is saying, how does Sutton make the ball do that? I think a lot of people have wondered that over 21 years.
Popped up right side. Sutton just rolling along here as Hendrick makes the catch. 2 down and Gedman coming up. So Gene Mock has had to put Hendrick into the game because of the absence of Joyner. Speaking of Mock, and he's back in there tonight as Gedman stands in. I got to give the line of the night again to Scott Ostro of the LA Times. He was talking about last night. Remember when Moose Stubing and Renee Latchman took over? And Ostro writes today, Stubing and Latchman appeared to be running the show, but Mock's intensity level is so incredibly high, he could have been sending telepathic instructions through Moose's antlers. In there for a strike, 0-1. What a line. Last night it worked, whatever they were doing, the relay system, mock, sending the instructions out. Gene could afford to laugh about it after the game. What was great is he was kidding Stubing, who of course was involved in the Gritch episode the other day. He said he did a wonderful job waving Schofield and Pettis off after the homers. 1-2. Now time called as an object is loose on the warning track. A baby beach ball, I think. Yep. There was that monstrous one floating around the stands in Houston the other night. Still a ball and 2 strikes on Gedman. Angels getting great pitching in this series. Witt, and then McCaskill was done in by the elements and other things and errors the other day. But Candelaria came back, pitched very well last night, and Sutton turning in a gem thus far here. Two and two, and he's being matched by Clemens, working on 3 days rest.
That's the interesting thing about both games tomorrow. Mike Scott for Houston coming back a day early against the rested Fernandez.
And Hurst coming back here with 3 days rest. The sensei and foul ground makes the catch. And Don Sutton has faced just one man over the minimum through 5. No score after 4.5. Game moving along very quickly as you look down at Anaheim Stadium. No score. And tomorrow, Bruce Hurst and Mike Witt. 2:30 Eastern, our coverage beginning. 1:30 Central, 11:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. Game 4 tomorrow night in the National League Championship Series with the Mets ahead 2-1. Mike Scott tries to get the Astros even against Sid Fernandez with Keith Jackson and Tim McCarver bringing you the action tomorrow night from Shea Stadium. Schofield, Boone, and Pettis in the bottom of the 5th inning. Schofield struck out in the 2nd. Roger Clemens has 6 strikeouts. They came in the first 3 innings. Oh, 1. Clemens not only talented, but you can tell a smart pitcher in the sense tonight early on. He had talked about what he did wrong the other night, coming out and overthrowing and being a little hyper in a way. He settled down right at the beginning of the night, came out, has been in full control.
We talked a little bit about that the other night. I think that's the reason John McNamara left him in, to gain some confidence, to give him some work. Of course, he was criticized that it went up to 143 pitches. Maybe he could have taken him out an inning before, but so far, it certainly doesn't look like it's affected him.
Good breaking pitch, 0-2. John McNamara, who is going with a 3-man rotation now. It'll be Hurst tomorrow. Then if he goes to a 6th game, it's Boyd again. And if we go to 7, which would be Wednesday night in Boston, Clemens again. And it would be Clemens against Candelaria in the 7th game. Assuming the Angels stay in their current rotation. 1-2.
And then, of course, the question would be if can Clemens come back and pitch with 3 days rest twice in a row? Certainly hasn't affected him tonight.
There's a little irony here, too, with pitching pitchers on short rest. If, let's say, the Red Sox were to lose this series and Clemens lost tonight, then you'd second guess through the winter. Some people would anyway, and they'd say, you know, McNamara should have given him 4 days rest. And it, of course, would mean that the Angels would go to the World Series, and Mock would be there. And we detailed last night, the rap on Mock in '64 was that he brought his pitchers back down the stretch with just short notice. He had only 2, Jim Bunning and Chris Short. The 1-2 pitch is fouled away, and if you go back and you look at what happened to the Phillies in '64, one of the problems Mock had was that 2 other pitchers in his rotation, Ray Culp and Dennis Bennett, had sore arms, and the bullpen was lacking. So Gene has that ghost that he has to live with, and then I'm sure there would be some who would say, well, McNamara should have given him the extra day's rest.
Well, you can go back to '82. He brought Tommy John back a day early. He was criticized for that. Of course, there was extenuating circumstances there. Easton had pitched a great game in Game 2, but had a blister. A lot of times as a manager, you have to make a decision based on the availability of your pitchers.
Well, that's the beauty of this game, and that's why we have a hot stove league, and I guess why we all love it so much. You go round and round. I would have done it this way. He should have done it that way. In there, called strike 3. And Schofield, a shy and retiring sort, has what for him would be a violent argument. 3 words.
Oh, borderline pitch, right about the belt. Pitch that you haven't really been getting, but again, if you looked at Nick Bremming and the umpires, it's below his eyes, and a lot of times that's the guideline umpires will go with.
Boone hits it in the air to right center field, and Evans tells Armas he'll take it. 2 down. So Dwight Evans handles the soft fly ball by Boone. 2 gone quickly in the bottom of the 5th inning. And it brings up Gary Pettis, who singled in the 3rd.
Roger Clemens is the type of pitcher, Al, that is always going to throw a lot of pitches, mainly because he strikes out a lot of batters. So he doesn't get a lot of first pitch outs. Also a lot of foul balls. You have a lot of hitters trying to catch up, just barely getting the bat on the ball. 120 to 140 pitches is really not an extraordinarily large number of pitches for him to throw.
Strike, 0-1. Clemens born on the 4th of August in 1962, and Don Sutton started his pro career in 1965. And the 2 head-to-head tonight. The 0-1 pitch is whacked into left field, and Pettis has 3 hits off Clemens in the championship series. So Pettis at first base, and he's been gunned down twice trying to steal. Once last night, once tonight.
Take a look at the second hit. The first time a broken bat hit. That time a curveball a little bit up in the strike zone, and he just smacked it into left. The same pitch that Pettis hit for a base hit to score a run in the first game, but he pulled the ball. Once again, as we said, I think in the future when you're talking about the Angels, if Pettis can get on base, he's going to lead off. Mock would rather have him hit first and 9th, where he hit a lot of the time this year. Situation where you can guarantee with 2 outs that Roger Clemens is going to pay attention to Pettis. He knows it's a situation you have your leadoff hitter at the plate anyway, the guy that you started the game with, so you know it's a definite running situation.
The other night, 143 was the total. 73 thus far in 4 2/3 innings. One and 0. with a Reggie grip. Jones exhibiting a lot of the same mannerisms as his idol when he was growing up, Reggie Jackson. Rupert from the Bay Area when Reggie was playing in Oakland. Stance, a lot of the facial expressions. Outside, 2-0. Goes. Good jump. Fouled away in the count 2-1. That might be his best jump thus far.
That's the problem with throwing over and maybe concentrating a little bit more on the base runner. That's why a lot of times you with major distraction. Nice little look at Rupert. Looks a little bit like Reggie,
doesn't he? Well, when he first came up, he had all of the mannerisms. When he first came up with, well, I guess Kansas City before Seattle.
Oh, he didn't have his own. Well, I don't know if Reggie ever does that, but he didn't have his own identity then. Must-travel player, as you chronicled, but has some good physical skills.
3-1 now. 2 out. Pettis at first base. Bottom of the 5th inning with no score. On the leadoff hitter with Bobby Grich on deck. Pettis doesn't go, and it's high. And runners are at first and second. So the Angels threaten here with 2 out in the bottom of the 5th inning, and it's Bobby Grich who has twice struck out. In the 4th inning with 2 men on, but Hendrick get into a double play. Owen extricating himself from the dilemma that he created with an error. And now Clemens trying to work out of this jam. In there for a strike on a breaking pitch, 0-1.
One of those backdoor sliders that you give up on as a hitter, and it just catches the inside part of the plate. And what they're trying to do is run the ball up and in on Bobby. He's had some tremendous home run years, 81, 22, strike year, tied for the Major League lead, or at least the American League lead. Another year with 30 home runs. A thumb injury early in the year. He slowed his bat down a little bit, 7 years of age. Talked about this early on, that maybe his last year as an active player. Mock feels he's a better man than Rob Wilfong, who, as you said, has been in an extended slump. Because Clemens will put you in another slump.
And with Barrett sneaking in and Pettis going, it's fouled away. And somebody missed the signal that time as Barrett was at second base as the pitch was being delivered by Clemens. So the whole right side of the infield was open.
It's not what you want to have happen, but what happens is that when you get 2 strikes on the hitter, you sometimes concentrate so much on getting him out, and with 2 outs, really, that ends the inning, that you aren't aware of pickoff signs, other things that are going on, things that you would be looking for with nobody out or 1 out.
They got away with one there, did the Red Sox, and the 0-2 pitch is a broken bat bouncer, fielded by Owen and juggled, but he throws and gets him after Clemens tried to kick it. And at the end of 5, no score.
This should be a great game.
Yeah, I love the baseball playoffs.
Yeah, the guys are cute.
Carol, there's much more to baseball than just guys in tight uniforms.
Oh, no, there isn't.
Yes, it's a thinking man's game. Concentration, percentages, strategy.
Right. It's like the great Yogi Berra once said, 50% of the game is 90% mental. Come on, I didn't say it. He did.
Growing Pains will be back in action Tuesday after Who's the Boss?
Can Texas recover from the shellacking the Longhorns took from OU today? Hugh Lewis was in Dallas, and he'll have a reaction to the disaster after the game.
Could 7-Eleven offer the same kind of fountain soft drink value as fast food places? Sure, but you'd get lots less for your money. Because we'd have to cut our 44-ounce Super Big Gulp in half down to their 22-ounce size. Ounce for ounce, our Super Big Gulp gives you almost twice as much for your money. We even give you your choice of Coke or Pepsi. They don't. 7-Eleven's biggest drink is your best value, and that's what makes our 44-ounce Super Big Gulp super.
Come on, Harry, we're late.
My boss is going to call. I've got to wait.
But we just got call forwarding from Southwestern Bell Telephone.
Call forwarding? I better wait.
Look, I program our phone so when your boss calls here, it rings with the Johnsons. Or we could program it to ring at the Wilsons or even your mother's.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chudball. Well, I've been waiting right here for your call.
With call forwarding, you're never out of touch.
Health Watch and 24 Action News, giving you more every day.
Well, as we come back to the sixth inning, Don Sutton pitching a gem so far, no score. He has a pitch limit, but he's only thrown 54 pitches through 5. So Mock may let him run out the string a little bit longer than normal tonight.
I would think so. Again, I think it really depends. They just watch him, and at that age, and really after, as we said, 5,000 innings, a lot of times you can go, particularly as you take a look at the last out of last inning. Clemens sprawled on the mound trying to deflect the ball with his foot. Play that really could have backfired. Spike Owen with the pickup and eventually the out. I really think they'll just watch him. And again, a lot of managers just to say, well, some nights at 75 he might be throwing a lot better than others. I think they'll just watch the reaction of the hitter and really his command of his pitches, which have been excellent so far.
He faces Armas here in the sixth inning. 0-1 the count. Armas, Owen, and Boggs. Sutton has allowed just one base runner. He gave up a double to Boggs in the fourth inning. Boggs was sacrificed. Then Buckner flied to right, and Boggs not tagging, and it was a good thing for him because Jones threw a strike to the plate, and then Rice lined out to Schofield. And that's been the Sox' only threat.
Well, Gene Mock is the type of manager that, number one, has with his older pitchers a signal. If you're in trouble, if you're getting a little bit tired, give it to me. Certainly don't know what that signal is. And also Bob Boone is going to talk to him about it.
Fouled away. And also knowing Sutton, the kind of guy he is, and the stakes here, he'd be the type of guy that would know exactly when and not try to fool his manager. As you see, the oldest starting pitcher to win a game. Early win back in '59 over Cleveland Alexander, Sal Magley, Tommy John. That's a postseason game. 41 years old is Don. 2-2.
If you wonder why Don Sutton is pitching closely to Tony Armas, 389 with 2 home runs, lifetime. He knows what he can do.
Line into center field for a base hit. So Armas, who's been real cold, he was 1 for 12 and strokes that one into center field. And Spike Owen comes to the plate.
As we talked about, not a great home run year for Tony, but great strength. He takes the ball really up and away that a lot of hitters wouldn't get to and just rams it into center field.
Spike Owen, who figures to bunt, and the Angels will align themselves in that posture defensively. The Sensei charging in as Owen lets it go by low, ball 1. Owen this season with 9 sacrifices. first and fielded by Hendrick, who throws and gets him. The kind of ball that may or may not go foul, but you can't take a chance at that point. Hendrick had to commit himself, then gets the out.
Also, this early in the game, even though it is the 6th inning, you want the out. You'll take the out. No boxes coming up. So George does. In an unfamiliar position, but a good throw. A lot easier if you're a left-handed first baseman. Throwing really to the inside part of the bag.
So Armas is now at second. And Boggs, who is 1 for 2, looks at a strike. Ground ball to the right side, and all that will do is advance the runner, but the Angels have gotten a second out. On the play, Armas is now at third, so for the second time in the game, the Red Sox have a man at third base, 2 down, and it brings up Marty Barrett, who is grounded out in sacrifice.
Well, that's what makes Don Sutton so unpredictable. First time up, he throws some curveballs, he hits a ground ball for an out. Next time he throws him a curveball, he hangs it, he hits a double. And if you're Wade Boggs, you got to figure, I'm going up to home plate. I just hit a double off a curveball. He won't throw me another curveball. And he throws him 2 in a row, and you get a grounder. The veteran pitcher knowing what he can do, maybe why Boggs got to hit the second time, and just saying, well, I can't throw him any curveballs because he got a hit. If he had belt high, he should have hit it. That time he made good pitches and got an out.
1-0 the count on Barrett.
Leading hitter for the Red Sox, not only during the playoffs, but during the regular season. Over 38% of the times being able to drive in runners. And all the hits he's gotten have been on fastballs in this series. Get the breaking ball over, they've been successful.
2-0, John McNamara. Armas at third, 2 down. Barrett taking all the way, and Barrett wants to look at the ball. Initially, it's funny, he signaled, take a look at the ball, then he said, no, no, no. Funny little sequence there.
I think it's also something you accept. If you let that bother you, I mean, again, this we've talked about, they say this gentleman you're looking at right here scuffs the ball, but you can't let it bother and be a distraction.
But I don't know that I've ever seen a guy say, take a look at the ball and then wave it off.
I think what he's saying is, I know it's going to run a little bit. Don Sutton's fastball did that. I pitched against him in the last game of 1982, a game that if we won, we would have, I guess, gone to the playoffs. Or would have had a tie with Milwaukee. And he totally erased the first name of Lee McPhail on the baseball.
And Barrett draws the walk. And that's not what Sutton had in mind, because he walks Barrett to get to the left-hand batting Buckner, who has twice flied out. And Buckner now a feeble 1 for 15 in this series. He finished the season cold as well. He was 6 for his last 35 as the regular season wound down.
Career high of 18 home runs, but hasn't hit a home run since September 14th. So he hasn't been hitting well. No doubt will tell you that he hasn't seen the ball well.
In there for a strike. And so the 2 teammates who came up with the Dodgers so long ago facing each other in a key situation here in Game 4. 6th inning, scoreless, with Armas at third and Barrett at first. Tony away to his lead. Barrett held on by Hendrick. Ripped down the line in right field. Fair ball. The Red Sox take the lead. Jones plays the carom. Armas has scored. Barrett will be held at third on a double by the overdue Buckner.
He had a good pitch. You won't see it from this angle, but the Sutton gets the ball up and in. matter of a hitter being better than the pitcher, and this is where a great play by Rupert Jones saves him a run. Last night, really misplayed 2 balls that he might have been able to catch. Once again, well, Buckner really a low ball hitter. Inside part of the plate, gets the bat head out, just hooks it down the line. And again, Jones with a great play in the corner saves him a run. Barrett would have scored easily the second run.
Jim Rice is at the plate and fouls it away, and the count is 0-1. Now, with first base open, Sutton has to determine in his own mind, is it Rice or is it Baylor that he'd rather work to?
A difference of 90 points during the regular season in batting average. Jim Rice at 324, Don Baylor 234.
1-1, and in the Angel pen, Gary Lucas begins to throw.
Of course, what that says to Don Sutton, who's no doubt aware that somebody's up, is that the next 3 right-handed hitters, Rice, Baylor, and Evans, they're mine. And you have Gedman, a left-hander, and that's why Lucas is up.
The 1-1 pitch. Missing, ball 2. 2-1 the count. Red Sox on top, 1-0. 2 out with Barrett now at third and Buckner at second. And it's 3-1. So he's pitching as if, as Mock watches from the dugout, he's pitching as if he'd rather work on Baylor.
Well, Baylor had a year where 31 home runs, but only hit 207 with runners in scoring position. So if you're a computer type of manager.
And he's going to wind up getting him on a 3-1 pitch anyway as Rice bounces out to Schofield. So the Red Sox settle for 1, but have the lead at the end of 5.5 in Game 4.
You make the call. A catcher fails in his attempt to throw out a base runner stealing third, but a closer look shows that he was interfered with by the umpire's leg. Does the stolen base stand? You make the call. An umpire can call interference on himself and send the runner back to the base he came from. So if you said the stolen base did not stand, then you made the right call.
Al Michaels and Jim Palmer with you at Anaheim Stadium as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning in Game 4. Boston leading California 1-0. Angels leading in the series 2-1. And Brian Downing, Reggie Jackson, and Doug DeCinces come up against Clemens in the bottom of the 6th. And again, for late tuners in, Wally Joyner hospitalized with a bacterial infection. Out of tonight's game, questionable for tomorrow. And as we said before, probable if we go back to Boston. In for a strike. And the count 1-1 on Downing. Roger Clemens, a masterful 5 innings, allowing 3 hits. Though Clemens has pitched so many superb games this year, he has pitched several better 5-inning outings. Tonight he's given up 3 hits, and he's walked 3. Still not bad for mere mortals.
He's a mere mortals only because of 3 days of rest and doing a great job so far.
Boggs falls, has it. 1 down, and up comes Reggie Jackson. In the dugout, Bruce Hurst, who will be pitching tomorrow on 3 days rest. He went all the way. Spun a nifty 11-hitter and won it by a score of 9-2. Reggie Jackson. Well, I was thinking last night with Reggie's and that slide dive and all the things he has done at the age of 40 and always worth 1,000 columns a year. Perhaps the most compelling athlete in the United States. Still, he's the kind of guy that, you know, you sit at home and if the baseball game is background music and you're reading the paper, you tend to just take a peek over the top of the page when you hear Reggie's at the plate. One and oh. And it never ends with Reggie. His career, of course, well chronicled, and more to come. Here he is in October, and the mystery about where he'll be next year. 2-0 the count.
I was reading one of the papers, and one of the sports fans in the local area wrote in and he said, what a lucky player Reggie has been to play with all those winners over the years, as if he didn't have anything to do with it. The 548 home runs didn't contribute anything.
That letter may have been written in a whimsical sense. Hit down the line in left field and back out of play. And the count is 2-1.
I don't really believe it was, but if you go back to even a team that in the 71 playoffs we beat, but 72, 73, 74 world champions. Lost in the playoffs in 75 to the Red Sox. And then he went to the Yankees, or went to the Orioles in the next couple of years, the Yankees in the World Series every year. Great timing.
3-1 the count on Reggie. One out, bases empty. Clemens working on Jackson. Roger has walked 3, struck out 7. Three and 2. Took just enough off it. But the way Reggie looked at Clemens, it was almost an acknowledgement of good pitch.
Well, not only that, he said, how can you possibly do that? 3-1, I'm looking for a fastball, and you throw me a little bit of a slider.
Like a tip of the cap with that little nod out toward Clemens. And ripped on the ground. Great stop by Owen. Comes up and gets him. And Spike, who's had so many little problems, gets that needed confidence booster right there, and he loves it.
They obviously must have seen the banner. And they got him to make the routine play, and that's been the play that's bothered him. Spectacular play, this one is, certainly. To his left with a dive. And knowing that Reggie does not run as well as he used to, even though he does have pretty good speed, comes up and makes the throw. I think a factor of what you were talking about, 3 walks, is that in a 1-0 game, and we go back to the fact that the Red Sox have supported Clemens so well this year with over 6 runs a game for an average, is that you have a tendency maybe to walk 1 or 2 more guys in a close game because you have to pitch a little bit more carefully. With a 6-run lead or a 4-run lead, you go after them. You don't want to throw strikes, but one pitch can really change the complexion of a 1-run ball game.
Clemens, who has sent down the first 2 men here in the bottom of the 6th inning, has had only one 1-2-3 inning tonight, and that was the first when he struck Jones and Gritch out and then got Downing on a comebacker. 2 out, bases empty, last of the 6th, 1-0 Red Sox. Two and 1. To right center field, Armas says he has it, and he ain't lying. 3 up and 3 down. We played 6 in Game 4, 1-0 Boston.
Me, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. I mean, here I am stocking up for Halloween. I got my steaks, got my ribs. Then when I ask the stock boy where the Coors Light is at, he points me to the Coors and Coors Light Halloween display, and I'm on it. Whoa, it's like deja vu. Whoa, it's like deja vu. Look for it where you buy beer. I shop here because they slash prices. There goes another one. Happy Halloween, darling.
Don Sutton working for California, 41 years old. I asked him what he would like to be doing next year.
Well, I don't know yet. What I'd like to do is get this the heck over with on a positive note and spend all winter figuring that out. I think too much has been written already about those of us who don't have contracts for next year, because realistically we have contracts for this year and we're still playing this year, and next year's going to come with or without us.
I get a feeling he'll be pitching next year.
Well, he's always said that, of course, 300 wins, which he attained this year, started out the season with 295, now 310 by winning 15 games, has always been something that he's looked at when I guess the previous season has ended and he's looking forward to a goal. So he's done the 310. I think he still wants to win a lot more baseball games. 300 obviously wasn't just the number he wanted to.
Baylor hits one down the line in left field and in for a base hit, at least one and maybe two, and he's on his way to second, and the throw is not in time. So Don Baylor on a half-swing double down the line starts the 7th inning for the Red Sox.
Excuse me, double. You can see it here, but it's just high curveball and checks his swing. And I guess you're strong enough you can fight a pitch off and over the third baseman's head. Bobby Grich with the late throw. Baylor in the second with a double.
And now Evans comes to the plate. Evans checking with Latchman at third for the sign. With a man at second and nobody out, Evans has popped out twice. Strike. Sutton tonight has walked one, struck out two. So much is said about Clemens and all of those strikeouts. You know, you forget Sutton's been around so long, he is 6th on the all-time list. Nolan Ryan, Steve Carlton, Gaylord Perry, Tom Seaver, Walter Johnson, the only men in front of him. Hit foul down the line and the count 0-2. I'll say one thing. I mean, when Sutton won his 300th earlier this year, some people were saying, well, he doesn't have Hall of Fame credentials. You got to be kidding. Guy wins 300 games? Of course, he's a lock cinch.
Of course, a lot of these skeptics said that's the only reason he's still pitching to win the 300 games, especially when he got off to a bad start.
High in the air to deep left center field, but playable. Downing is there, looks toward Pettis and makes the catch. Baylor tags, and Downing's throw is not there in time. So Brian Downing making the catch, and Baylor alertly tagging and coming over.
It really is an alert play, because normally you go halfway unless you know the ball is going to be caught and unless you know you can make it. Baylor tagging all the way. I've said many times, does not have the speed as he did early in his career.
And he gets in there as Latchman goes to the mound now. This is the pitching coach, Renee's brother, Marcel Latchman, and he's going to go to the bullpen with a left-hand batting Gedman. That means they'll go to the bullpen, I presume, for Lucas, who has been up and throwing, with Boston on top, 1-0 in the 7th. We'll be right back. Miss on deck. It's possible that Lucas is in to face just one man. We'll have to wait and see. In the bullpen, they have Vern Rule throwing. And so Lucas, who was picked up from Montreal in an offseason transaction and battled his way back from a back injury and cortisone treatments, comes out of the pen to try to keep the Angels close. They trail 1-0. Baylor third, one out. Infield plays in. And Gedman looks at a strike and doesn't like the call.
Lucas does not walk many batters. 45 innings, only 6 walks, 31 strikeouts. So he knows that this is the batter he has to get out. And if you go back to last night's game, who's one of the toughest hitters off Candelaria, who was overpowering, was Gedman with 2 singles.
0-2.
Again with the infield in. Sharp hit ball through the infield will score a run, a fly ball. The big question, will Lucas give him a pitch that he can lift? Sinker, slider. Set up man in Montreal last year for Jeff Reardon. Yeah, not overpowering. Just a lot like Candelaria, doesn't throw as hard, but extremely tall at about 6'6". Long arms, deceiving motion.
Just inside again. The Angels get another left-hander up along with the righty Rule, and that would be Chuck Finley. 2-2 to Gedman. Got him.
Like a little split finger fastball. Just down in the strike zone. Rich swings right over it. Quality pitch when you had to make it.
And now Lashman goes to the mound. And again, it is Marcel, the pitching coach, who, along with Mock on occasion, makes the changes. And he wants the righty. So we'll see Rule to face Armas when we come back.
Game 3, Houston came out strong, but the Mets retaliated on Lenny Dykstra's dramatic 2-run game-winning homer. Houston tries to come back in Game 4 tomorrow night.
This ABC Sports exclusive is being brought to you by Coors and Coors Light. Beers with a difference worth tasting.
Sutton still on the bench, having gone 6 1/3 tonight. And giving up the 1 run, though the man on base right now is also his responsibility. So if Baylor were to score, he'd be charged with 2. And Vern Rule comes in to face Tony Armas with 2 down. Baylor at third base. Vern Rule, who played for Cleveland last year, he's been in the big leagues a long time, but he was released, wound up signing a minor league contract with San Jose, the Bees of the California League, then eventually went to Edmonton, the Angels AAA farm club, came up to the big club, and then there was some question as to whether or not it would be Rule or Terry Forrester who would be the last pitcher named on the playoff roster as Armas fouls it away, and Rule won the job on the strength of a very good performance in the final series of the season, a relief outing in Texas.
Also gives Gene Locke another right-hander out there. Thinking about your pitching staff, Fenway Park, do you want more left-handers or more right-handers?
In the air to left center field, and Pettis is there and makes the catch. And so the Red Sox strand a man at third, and at the end of 6 1/2, still 1-0, Boston.
This is dedicated to the ones we love.
The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.
Sunday on Business World, corporate raider Carl Icahn on his bid to take over steel giant USX. ABC News Business World, the only network business broadcast, Sunday.
The 2 baseball games for you tomorrow. Game 5 in this series is the day game tomorrow, with our coverage commencing at 2:30 Eastern time, 11:30 in the morning out here. And then Game 4 in the National League tomorrow. Astros and Mets at 8 Eastern time. Scott working for Houston. Now, in college football, night games, Nebraska leading Oklahoma State by 20. Fourth quarter, Washington leading Stanford by 3. SMU in front of Baylor, and LSU has the lead over the Bulldogs. The umpires at the mound with Roger Clemens. It could be something to do with the mound itself and some landscaping work, and I think we appear to be waiting for a member of the ground crew to come out.
They're going to bring a tamper out, and again, a lot of times in ball games, didn't appear to be any problem. This is a very good mound as you take a look at the new center fielder for the Red Sox. The man acquired along with Spike Owen from the Mariners.
So we wait for the tamper, or the tamping device, whatever it's called. Miami wins over West Virginia. Alabama shuts out Memphis State. The Wolverines, number 4, winning. Penn State had a scare but came back to beat Cincy. A rout in the OU-Texas game. Auburn, the victor over Vanderbilt. Texas Tech upsetting the Razorbacks. And USC upset by Washington State. Iowa won. Pitt won. Buckeyes won. Illini win. So does the Rambling Wreck. And the Eagles and the Cadets knock off Tennessee in a big upset. And Air Force over Navy. And we can bring you all of these scores because it's either this or watching the guys tamp the mound. Texas A&M over Houston. Oregon State knocks off Cal. Arizona State over Oregon. And UCLA beats Arizona. And while we have a moment and we wait for the ground crew to come out, I think they have to go to the, apparently they're on their way to the nearest Payless to buy it. Here's McNamara assessing the season that Roger Clemens had and if he was surprised by it.
Realistically, and to be honest, no, I didn't. We were told that he could do anything any other pitcher could do in spring training unless he broke down. And we nursed him along. We brought him along slow, and in fact, he was our number 5 starter. He didn't start a ball game till we went to Chicago. And no, I didn't. We knew a lot about him last year. My first year here, he had the problems with the shoulder, and really we protected him. Didn't allow him to start for 2 ball games. We knew he's a franchise-type pitcher, and that's the kind of year he had this year, a franchise-type pitcher.
The gardening tools have finally arrived. Now, what is that called, Jim? Do you know anything about gardening? I know nothing.
That's a rake.
Well, I know that's a rake. But is that a tamper or
is a tamper?
Okay.
And the reason this problem has occurred is obviously there was no problem when Sutton was out there, but you had a left-handed pitcher that comes in and throws on the other side of the pitching rubber, and you had another right-hander that may throw from the corner. Usually it's a very good mound. The interesting thing about this, you talked about last night that they came in here with Rye Seat, top-dressed the field. They had a football game here last weekend, but this is a hydraulic mound that literally sinks, so they don't have to rebuild the mound here. Again, it's a good mound. It has a nice slope, a lot like Dodger Stadium, and we talked about that at great length on one Monday night. And he just asked for them to come out and fix the mound,
which he has the right to do. So it's a delay, as it turns out, but it's through the request of Roger Clemens.
Again, a 1-0 ball game. I guess he wants everything to be right, and he has the right to ask for that. The comparison of the first game and the fourth game. Less pitches, similar velocity. And going back, talking about that game, 8 runs, 7 earned. Much more success tonight.
First baseman. But a tight one, 1-0. The only run coming in the top of the 6th inning. Tony Armas, a base hit. Spike Owens sacrificed him. And then Bill Buckner brought him in with a double. A 2-out double to right. So it's Hendricks, Schofield, and Boone. 6, 7, and 8. Late swing and a miss. 0-1. Hendrick is grounded out and grounded into a double play.
That was a perfect example of what Gene Mauch says that is the success formula for Roger Clemens. He shows you enough of low fastballs to get you to swing at the high one. Again, incredible control. Back to that 20 strikeout game. No walks, only 4 hits over 9 innings.
And he's just broken another bat as Hendrick has to go back for a new one. And the crowd roaring because a wave has built. He reaches for it, grounds it down to short. Spike Owens throws him out. There's one away. 1 gone, and we'll take a look at Schofield. And the Angels limited to 3 hits tonight. The Sensei a single to right in the 2nd. Pettis single to left in the 3rd. And Pettis again to left. So all 3 hits off Clemens have been to the opposite field. Clemens, victimizing Schofield twice, has struck out 7. 0-1. Interesting to note, isn't it? With all of the things he did this year, just one shutout.
Well, he had another 9-inning game that he didn't give up any runs in. Game he got a no decision in.
The short takes a nice convenient, though erratic hop to Owen. 2 down.
Again, of course, it shows the consistency that he had. A lot of times a pitcher will have a year where a fairly low ERA, but there'll be a lot of peaks and valleys. Roger just consistently got his earned run average right around what it ended at, which is 2.48. And consider that he did that in Fenway Park.
Boone hits it into right field, base hit. Juggled, knocked down by Evans, but Boone, after taking the turn, wisely holds it first. And so Boone, saluted by the chorus of Boones, is at first base with 2 down, and Pettis is the batter.
You talked about all 3 hits. Now the 4th being the opposite field. Really the only way you can hit Roger Clemens tonight. But Bob Boone, not a productive home run hitter. Average slipped from 248 last year to 222. A lot of that's attributed to a sprained ankle early in the season, but he knows you can't take that pitch and try to pull it, so he just hit it the other way.
Gary Pettis. Pettis now with 4 hits off Clemens in the 2 games. 2 the other night, 2 tonight. Looks at a strike, and the count is 0-1. The big stars last night was Pettis with a home run.
That home run was on a changeup. Right here, Roger Clemens, 1 strike, comes back just as Gedman said on the outside corner. Questionable pitch, but the 2 home runs that Pettis hit off the can this year, talking about oil can boy, were both changeups, so he didn't learn from his mistakes. Very unlikely that he will go out and pull a fastball away.
Got him looking. And Clemens comes off the mound like oil can. 1-0, end of 7.
Jim's dairy business is twice the size it used to be.
Jim's twice the size he used to be.
He's got stores statewide, and he got an IBM computer to tie them all together.
IBM makes computers that know about the dairy business?
IBM makes lots of different computers for any kind of business, and a lot of different software for marketing, building, that kind of stuff. The software helps the computer to help Jim run his dairy business.
Jim needs all the help he can get.
He needs software for inventory, sales forecasts. It can even tell him how much milk will be produced.
Yeah, but is anyone telling the cows?
One thing's for sure, his IBM computers and software made his job a lot easier. Sure did.
Sure did. No big deal making his job easier. It's the cows that do all the work.
You know, the weirdest things happen to me, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. I mean, here I am stocking up for Halloween. I got my steaks, got my ribs. Then when I ask the stock boy where the Coors Light is stacked, he points me to the Coors and Coors Light Halloween display, and I'm on it. Whoa, it's like deja vu. Whoa, it's like deja vu. Look for it where you buy beer. I shop here because they slash prices. There goes another one. Happy Halloween, darling.
Birth control?
A father caught in 2 worlds,
I'm 15 years old.
You're 15 years young.
trying to understand,
You blew it, Dad.
becoming a family,
I don't know what the rules are, Robin.
part of the city.
then. When Spencer sends a greeting,
Better be the good guys.
everyone gets the message.
Meant nothing about shotgun.
No matter what the job,
You've got the best there is on your side.
he'll get it done.
Hold on.
Spencer, following Heart of the City, returning 1 week from tonight.
We'll let this last pitch to Gary Pettis, strike 3, show you whether there's any intensity in the playoffs. Rogers not too happy, is he?
8 strikeouts. And the most important one to this point. Here's Owen. Spike, Boggs, and Barrett come up in the top of the 8th inning against Vern Rule. In for a strike in the count 0-1. Setting up the only run in the game with his bunt that moved Armas along. Hendrick didn't know what to do. And Hendrick's inexperience at first base is the problem right there. George should have had it. It's his play, and it's a pretty easy play for a 3-1 out. But he started, and he stopped, and he started again, and then he was gone.
Again, hasn't played there very much. Oh, should I take it? No, you take it, Bobby. Let's let Rupert have it out in right field. Again, in a 5 or 6 run game, it wouldn't really make a whole lot of difference.
It's a base hit for Owen, who's at first base with nobody out, and Boggs is the batter. Boggs is 1 for 3. Strike. 0-1.
See the huge hole between first and second, but if there's any left-hander that really doesn't take advantage of that hole that often. You see an attempted sacrifice, and it's a pretty good illustration of what John McNamara is saying. He talked about Spike Owen with the bunt, get the first run. The way Roger Clemens is pitching, pretty good indication, I would think, that they're going to just get another run, try to add to that, throwing so well. That should suffice. Unusual for Boggs, the way he can handle the bat, to give himself up. But he's not a pull hitter. Doesn't take advantage. He usually uses second base over.
Ooh, off his foot. To go with his slightly torn hamstring. 0-2.
The problem really doesn't happen to Wade very often because he usually goes the other way. Here, maybe trying to take advantage of that hole. It's on top of the ball, hits it right down on his right instep.
Owen at first base and nobody out in the 8th inning. Red Sox on top 1-0 as Boston tries to square the series.
Strike hitter, doesn't expand the strike zone very often. Last year, as we said, often 240 hits, 124 with 2 strikes, 390 average. So doesn't really mind being in this situation.
Rich drops it, recovers, throws, still gets it. Bobby ranging, and again you saw where he was positioned initially, so he had a pretty long way to go for that one. And the ball stayed down on him,
He's
too.
not thinking double play, but he is thinking get the lead runner. Right here, he's going to make a nice pickup and a pivot. The ball comes up. Only a quick throw right here gets Boggs. They get a runner in scoring position.
Boggs angry, taking one off his foot. He's having a a difficult series. The numbers aren't that bad. He's 4 for 15. But I guess when you're boxed, hear that pit. Gets by Boone, and advancing to third is Owen.
See the disgust on Bob Boone's face. If this ball doesn't bounce out as far as it does, he would smother it. But well out in front of home plate, with reverse spin, comes back, stays down, goes right through his legs.
Scored a wild pitch, and as you know, the general rule of thumb there, in the dirt, wild pitch. Marty's wife. 1 out, Owen at third. Infield has to play in. And the 1-0 pitch is a strike, and the count is 1-1. Barrett is a great bunter. Buckner is on deck, so the squeeze is not out of the realm of possibility.
Well, also in the realm of possibility is the pitch out. You do that, you take a chance that maybe that is the pitch they're going on.
Whacked into center, base hit. And so Barrett, with his 8th hit of the playoffs, has given Boston a 2-0 advantage.
First baseman, Bill Buckner.
2-0, and now as we look back to the 6th inning, as Buckner gets ready to come in, a look back at the only other run of the game. Coming on this double down the line in right field that scored Tony Armas and made it 1-0. And as Buckner gets ready to come up here, Marcel Latchman has gone to the mound again, and they have the lefty Chuck Finley throwing in the bullpen with Buckner coming up. And so the call goes out. The left-hander is coming in. It's 2-0 Boston in the top of the 8th inning.
Championship Series, Game 3. It was baseball like it ought to be. Bottom of the 9th, Mets down by a run. The kid they call Nailed, Lenny Dykstra, nails a Dave Smith pitch for a 2-run game-winning homer. New York leads Houston 2-1. Game 4, tomorrow night.
Chuck Finley, the rookie left-hander for the Angels, comes out of the bullpen to face one man in all probability, that being Billy Buckner with 1 out. Barrett at first base. Finley in only his 2nd professional season. Hendrick holding Barrett on. And again, Barrett, the only Bostonian in double figures in steals this season. Strike. Isn't it ironic, too, with Chuck Finley on the mound? Reggie Jackson, I'm sure, thought he had seen the last of Charlie Finley.
Very ironic.
Yes, and now he's his teammate.
Yeah, well, this Charlie Finley throws a lot better than the other one.
Depends what's being thrown. That one winds up at the backstop, getting by Boone again. And down to second base goes Barrett.
And Finley does have a live arm. You don't see this happen very often to Bob Boone. The loss of concentration, movement of the ball, but normally a ball that he handles very easily, and he failed to do that.
And a pass ball.
Well, it should have been.
And was.
The reason Finley was brought to the major leagues is an outstanding arm. He came up with a curveball, which has given him another pitch. Done a good job for him.
1-2. Marty Barrett with 8 hits in the series thus far. And doing a nice job at second base. The playoff record for most hits in an LCS would be Chris Chambliss and Fred Lynn at 11. Those in the days, of course, when the series was a best of 5. So you have a couple of more opportunities. But here we are in Game 4, and Barrett already with 8 hits. Sharply to Grich, and it caroms away out into right field. Latchman waves Barrett home. Buckner will take advantage by going to second. Rich's throw gets by Schofield and is backed up by the Sensei. So it's 3-0. And this is helping to illustrate one of the shortcomings of sorts of the Angels. They had the closer, Donnie Moore, but in the midst of it all, and again, this is really not Finley's fault in the sense it's simply Grish's error, the middle and setup men are somewhat questionable.
Well, again, Bobby Grich does not make a whole lot of errors. We saw one in the second game. Makes a mental error there, I think, in his haste to maybe undo the error that he first committed if he lets Jones, who's coming in on the ball. You'll see the right here, Bobby hustles out. But Jones coming the other way, if he picks up the ball, he's easily out at second base. Bobby has to turn around, makes an errant throw. Doesn't go as an error, but allows Buckner to get into second.
And Mox going to the pen again. I believe it was Corbett who was throwing. Bullpen half out of our view from here. It would seem to be, I would assume at this point, Corbett. You're not going to go to Donnie Moore.
Well, also, Al, if you go back to the second game, 3 errors, a team that really wasn't supposed to beat themselves did defensively in the second game that Boston won 9-2, and that's a double play ball right there to get you out of the inning and keep the score 2-0, and yet there's another error. So just when you think that again the game is simple and that the second best defensive baseball team in the American League is going to play good defense, they surprise you.
Corbett is the 5th pitcher against Sutton. Started. Lucas came on and did the job by striking out the only man he faced. Rule got out of the top of the 7th inning, but then he gave up the single to Owen. And again, the single to Owen is really the fault of Hendrick more than anything else. Boggs with the ground out, then Barrett with the base hit to drive in a run, and now the error. So in reality, the point I'm making before about the bullpen, the long men, and the middlemen is more of a generalization of sorts than necessarily to be applied completely to tonight's situation with California. 3-0 is the score in the 8th inning. And the Angel bench, and last night a pretty happy group, obviously. And tonight a whole other story. Night football. Nebraska 30-10 over Oklahoma State. Boone with a pass ball in the inning, and his alma mater Stanford has just lost to Washington by 10. SMU 27-14 over Baylor. Fourth quarter, LSU leads Georgia. They work now on Boggs, who took a foul ball off his right foot. Ethyl chloride being applied.
No idea how painful that is. That's one of those injuries that will, you know, it hurts immensely now, will hurt even more tomorrow in most cases.
Corbett to face Rice.
Well, the last time that we had this confrontation, the ball went in the Boston bullpen. 2-run home run in Game 2 by Jim Rice.
And that was the finishing touch on a 9-2 victory. 3-0 Red Sox. Buckner at second base. And the count is 0-2. 3 runs, 6 hits, and 1 error for the Sox. No runs, 4 hits, and 1 error for the Angels. Rice 0 for 3 tonight. So Jim kind of struggling in the series at 3 for 15. Had a double last night on the drive to right center. The sensei has it go through him. This is looking like Wednesday revisited. You've had a pass ball. You've had Hendricks foul paw in the inning. You've had Gritch's error. And now what I assume will be an error on DeCinces.
Well, this ball stays down and Doug doesn't. It's a lot easier to come up. You want to stay beneath the ball. Doug, you see with the hands just up a little bit, expecting the ball to come up. The ball stays down and another ball between the legs.
Now Baylor with the infield at double play depth. Baylor 1 for 3 tonight. One and 0 the count. Angels have the top of their order coming up. Jones, Gritch, Downing in the bottom of the 8th inning. 3-0 Boston in Game 4. Red Sox trying to square the series at 2 apiece. 1-1. We
said in the second game, Corbett was one of the best records of throwing ground balls, 3 ground balls every fly ball, even though Rice did hit the home run. Still do have the double play in order. Taylor hits the ball hard. The grounder will get the Angels out of the inning. That's hit hard enough.
1 ball, 2 strikes to count.
Interesting thing about fate. Sometimes last year, if you go back to look at Doug Corbett, had a chance to pitch here with the Angels, did not get a save for the first time in his career. This year, Donnie Moore having a shoulder injury. Corbett had 10 saves, so at times he's done the job for him.
2-2 on Baylor. Corbett had one tremendous season in Minnesota. 1980, 1.99 ERA, 23 saves. And it's popped foul back of third and out of DeCinces' range. 2-2 the count. Corbett, one of those guys, he may be the last of a dying breed in the sense that he was one of those guys that got a gigantic contract based in good part on that one terrific year. And with the economics of baseball the way they are these days, we may not see that for a while.
Looking at Roger Clemens, who has been sitting on the bench a long time. Of course, I always thought it was a good trade-off. I'll sit there as long as they want to keep scoring runs.
Down goes Baylor. So 2 down, and Dwight Evans coming up.
I talked about the ground balls. That's because of the sinker. Another one right there. You see the bottom of the ball just drop out. Johnny right over the top of it. Not much you could do with that pitch. And if you do hit it, the rotation of the ball going down like that, it's usually a ground ball. You have to make Corbett bring the ball up. You want good pitches to hit.
Evans takes high, ball 1. 1-0 the count. Red Sox. 2 on, 2 out, top of the 8th inning. Two and 0 the count. Recognize that man? Number 41, Tom Seaver. He is eligible, or could become eligible to pitch in the World Series if the Sox get that far. And if the knee responds. 3-0.
Interesting talk with Arthur Pappas, who's the physician for the Red Sox. And you hear conflicting reports. People are saying it's bothered Seaver for the last couple of months. Really, something just happened the last couple of weeks.
As Evans draws the walk, and that loads him up.
Little ligament strain on the outside of his right knee, one that he pushes off with. They're worried about causing cartilage problems. Tom has indicated that he'd like to pitch again next year. Hasn't had a great year record-wise, but came in 5-7 for the Red Sox, 7-13 totally on the year.
Bases loaded. Gedman is at the plate. Rich 0 for 3 tonight. Outside, ball 1. 1-0. So Gedman up here with the score 3-0. For Gedman, he's had a good season with the Red Sox, but boy, it's been a terribly emotional one for him. His father, his nephew, his half-sister, all dying during the season. And just in visiting with him the other day, it was Rich who said, hey, listen, if you can, just thank everybody in New England, around the country, in fact, who sent him letters, sent him notes, their condolences and the rest. He wants you to know it's been a lot. Gedman, who has had 2 grand slammers this season. And the pitch just missing. 2-1. And he hit 1 here off Vern Rule.
Talked about all the ground balls that Doug Corbett throws. He also had the distinction, I think in August, 5 straight games of throwing home runs. In between all those grounders, there have been some blasts.
Toward Grich, over to Schofield, and the inning is over. But Hendricks' mistake, the 2 errors, the pass ball, and a 3-0 Boston lead. A look at the scoring summary. We were scoreless until the 6th inning when Tony Armas singled. Spike Owen sacrificed, and a 2-out double by Bill Buckner made the score 1-0 Boston. Then in the 8th, the single by Owen when Hendrick at first base showed his lack of experience at that position. Boggs grounding out. The wild pitch sent Owen to third. Marty Barrett with the infield playing in ripped one to center to make it 2-0. Went to second on the fastball. And the error by Grich allowed Barrett to score, and the Red Sox are on top by a score of 3-0, which is a pretty good feeling when Roger Clemens is on the mound and throwing the way he is. If you're a Boston fan. Not so good if you're in Anaheim tonight.
Well, you would think so. Again, the long inning, that can take some toll. A little bit cool out here, not coolish as it was in New England. If you go back to last night, I think something that might be very instrumental is Calvin Schiraldi, who's been their stopper down the stretch, had a chance to pitch an inning. Didn't have a real easy inning with 1 walk, but had a chance to acclimate himself to playoff conditions. Take a look at Gene Mauch.
So, bottom of the 8th inning, Jones is at the plate. Ripped down the line, hooking and staying fair and bouncing into the seats for a double. And that's the first extra base hit for the Angels tonight and the first hit that they pulled.
Again, that might be telling you something. Sit on the bench for a while, fastball away. No doubt Jones was looking for that. Clemens has had a good one all night. You see the ball just barely fair. Leaves his imprint on the warning track as it bounces into the stands for a ground rule double.
Left its imprint on some fan's palm as well.
Back it goes. I'm sure John McNamara, as Rich Gedman goes out to the mound, and this is one of the older stalling tactics, trying to give your bullpen a little bit of time. The pitch total has not been that high, but again, as we've said many times tonight, only 3 days of rest hasn't done this. And you do have a guy that's had an exceptional end of season. Talking about Calvin Schiraldi.
That sign, "These are our innings," has almost become a popular phrase around here. The Angels pulling off several late inning dramatics during the regular season. And a good part of the crowd standing in the bottom of the 8th inning to try to get things going. The count. In there, 1-1. 94 miles an hour for Clemens, so his velocity right there all night. Upstairs, 2 balls, 2 strikes to count on Grich. Downing follows Grich, and then Jackson. There's Jones at second base. Nobody out. 3-0 Boston, bottom of the 8th. Again, the other night, 143, and he came out of the game in the 8th inning.
Again, there's so many managers. What Gene Mauch said about Mike Witt, who we'll see tomorrow, who won 18 games. It's very hard to relieve somebody after they've had such an incredible year. And there are issues to think about. If it does go 7, he'll be coming back again with 3 days rest. These are all decisions that McNamara is the one that has to make.
Full count, 3-2. Clemens has walked 3, struck out 8. Center field, but right there is Henderson for the catch, and Jones elects to stay at second. No sense chancing it down by 3 runs. 1 gone, and Downing comes up, but Grich hit the ball hard.
All night long, he's been able to ride the ball up in the strike zone there. Probably took a little bit off just to throw a strike. Do not want to put the tying run at the plate. Don't want to walk Bobby Grich so you can make him hit it. Did hit the ball hard, but right at Henderson in center.
Now Downing with Reggie Jackson knowing full well if Downing gets on, he'd be the tying run waiting on deck. One and all. Getting a little antsy on the Boston bench. Taking all the way, 3-1. The man on deck.
I figure that Downing's going to get a pretty good pitch to hit here. Just Clemens wants to throw a strike.
But he pops it up in foul ground, and Buckner comes over, leans in, and can't make the catch, and is furious with a fan, and Buckner ready to jump into the stand.
That's the home field advantage.
It's also a situation here as McNamara comes out now. Is that a temporary area down there?
Well, it is, but the ruling is that if the ball is into the stands, the fans can't interfere. If you reach out onto the playing field, and in the judgment of the umpire, he feels that you could make the out, then the batter is out.
Right. The thing I'm questioning is that in the regular season, it's an easier play. He doesn't have to lean in like that. That played too difficult. There's no way you can call him out. And it's 3-2. And he strikes him out. Woo. High, high, higher. And that's K number 9.
Said you had to get the bat ready. Throws this ball right by him. And a little bit out of the strike zone. But you can't wait very long.
That was ball 4. Now Jackson struck out, fly to center, grounded to short.
Very difficult to put a percentage on it, but most swinging third strikes are on pitches out of the strike zone. The only way that can happen is if you get 2 strikes.
0-1.
I guess the obvious deduction, if you get ahead of the hitters, even though that was a 3-2 count, you have a better chance of getting them as fish at balls. Very few pitchers, and you're looking at one right here that can really pitch within the strike zone and be successful. Most pitchers don't have good enough stuff.
Hit down to second. Barrett backs up, makes the play to first, and Clemens has gone through 8. And the Red Sox are 3 outs away from squaring this series. Because as we head to the top of the 9th inning, Boston leads 3-0 now with the Angels in front 2-1. But Boston trying to square it as we head to Game 5, 3-0 Red Sox. And tonight's coverage of the American League Championship Series is being brought to you by the heartbeat of America, today's Chevrolet. By IBM and the growing family of IBM personal computers. By Mr. Goodwrench. No one knows your GM car better than Mr. Goodwrench. No one. And by RCA, technology that excites the senses. Al Michaels, Jim Palmer, Anaheim, as we go to the 9th inning. And Dave Henderson will lead things off. Henderson, then Owen, who came over in the same deal from Seattle in August. And Boggs facing Doug Corbett. When the Angels bat at the bottom of the 9th inning, the sensei, Hendrick Schofield. Off his foot. Boy, that's becoming a common sight tonight. 0-1 to count on Henderson.
Well, the ball Boggs hit off his foot was a breaking ball, but watch this ball. Look how far inside it is. Right down on the left instep. The new dance here in Anaheim, it seems.
This telecast, presented by authority of Major League Baseball, may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. If the Red Sox win, it guarantees a 6th game, so that would be Tuesday night at Fenway Park. If a 7th game is needed, that's Wednesday night in Fenway. One ball, one strike to count. To left center, coming on Pettis and Downing, and it's Pettis. One away. That man, Dennis Oil Can Boyd, would pitch the 6th game. which see him on the mound Tuesday night. And we'll be guaranteed of seeing him on the mound Tuesday night if the Red Sox win tonight. Owen now in front of a crowd that's become quiet. And that's what a Roger Clemens will do to a crowd. Rich to Hendrick. Two guys.
You talked about the fact that the Angels have come back. Led all American League clubs in ninth inning rallies with 7. Very well. How many is more than normal? I guess the average is just about 3 times that a team comes back. Take all the average of the American League teams, come back and win a game in the 9th inning. So they've had a better year in that respect. But how many times do you come back in the 9th inning and overcome a 3-0 deficit when Roger Clemens is on the mound?
And Schiraldi in the bullpen. 0-1 the count on Boggs. 2 out, bases empty in the top of the 9th inning. Game over the 3-hour mark. Half swing, liner caught by Schofield. Faded on it, little hop, and robs him of a hit. And Boggs, the batting champion, is 1 for 5 tonight, and now 4 for 16 in the series.
Well, we saw Baylor with a check swing double. Boggs tries the same thing, and great play by Dick Schofield. Not very tall, but got way up on that one.
The Sensei, Hendrick, and Schofield coming up in the bottom of the 9th inning. Tomorrow, this is the day game out here in the night game in the National League. Boston, California. Our coverage beginning 2:30 Eastern, 1:30 Central, 11:30 a.m. tomorrow morning Pacific time. Hurst and Witt. Houston, New York, game 4. Keith Jackson, Tim McCarver will be at Shea, and the matchup is Mike Scott against Sid Fernandez at 8 Eastern time. So here we go to the bottom of the 9th inning with the Sensei, Hendrick, and Schofield. Roger Clemens trying to go all the way and square it at 2 games apiece. Low for a ball, 1-0 the count. To deep left center field. Henderson goes all the way back. Gone! And Debbie Clemens, watching the shutout go down the drain, still able to afford a smile, though, because her man's got a 2-run lead.
The second pitch, first one was a ball. Doug, no doubt, looking for a fastball, knowing Clemens wants to throw a strike. The rest is history. 26 during the regular season, and there's number 27.
Now Hendrick, who is 0 for 3, fouling it away. 0-1. Little looper. 0-2. Schofield is on deck. Hendrick is the 6th hitter. Then Schofield 7th, Boone 8th, and Pettis 9th. The third, Boggs stays with it. Throw high and a nice toe dance by Buckner. So Wade, who's already made 2 errors in this series, handles it cleanly and then almost throws the ball away.
He's been watching some of the Angels who've had another bad game, but did get rid of it in a hurry, and this allows Buckner to make the grab and come down before Hendrick does.
1 down, Schofield is the batter. Schofield is 0 for 3. Strike. leading going into the ninth. Nobody was better in the big league. Ripped into left for a base hit, and they'll get the tying run to the plate. And Giraldi heating in the pen, and Bob Boone, who hit 7 home runs this season, coming to the plate. Strike, breaking ball. Giraldi and Sambito. Sambito is on the right. He's a left-hander, and Giraldi. But it's Clemens. He's the man. Another strike.
Great slider. Of course, Boone does not like the call. The first one was belled high. Take a look for yourself. If the reverse rolls, Boone would say, oh yeah, good strike. I caught it just above the knees.
He hits it into left field for a base hit, and the winning run will come to the plate.
Not a home run hitter. Giraldi's success is basically down the outside part of the plate. I think Pettis would be trying to hit the ball the other way.
He goes the other way to left field. Rice misjudges the ball, and it's over his head, and the 3 runners are all together. Schofield round third, scores, and the Angels get a big break as White winds up going to third.
Getting with his hand up, they're going to intentionally walk Rupert Jones.
And so the tying and winning runs are on base with the score 3-2. Oh, boy. And on that play, Schofield had to wait because it looked like Rice was going to make the catch. And then the ball carried over his head, and Devon White was ready to run up Schofield's back. He was between second and third, and Pettis was almost all the way to second. And Schofield, rounded third, kept on coming. Exactly right. Bases loaded, 1 out. Low to Griff.
Another example of Gene Mauch having a lot of faith in his veteran players. He has Jack Howell on the bench, good left-handed hitter he could use here, but Bobby Grich, 0 for 4, 2 strikeouts, is going to let him hit.
In there. The other advantage, the Angels, White and Pettis, as the tying and winning runs, they're 2 fastest men. Good pitch. Ooh.
To get the strike.
1-2 pitch. Foul back.
He's both the fastball and the curveball. Makes it more difficult.
1-2. Except when it comes to breaking up a double play at second.
With Buckner off the base, Rupert Jones has a huge lead.
2-2. Got him swinging. Woo. Bases loaded, 2 out, and it's up to down the infield tonight. 0 for 3. Whoa. Play him just about straight away. 0-2. And he throws it inside and hits him to tie the game. He threw an off-speed pitch and winds up hitting. 0-1.
Also goes back